that Tsundere goddess falls in love with me. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 751, Kunlun Territory. Nangang family. The shadow killing army in front of Lu Chuan fell one after another. All of them became corpses and lost their lives. Li Zunying, who saw this scene, sighed with relief, and the pressure in his heart seemed to be completely released. He stood up again, looked back at Lu Chuan, and asked, "Mr. Lu, everything is over?" Lu Chuan nodded slightly, looked back at Xiao Huanqian, and asked, "Are you satisfied with this result?" Xiao Huanqian was silent for a moment, looked up at Li Zunying, and sighed helplessly. "That's it. I will take this Lu Wansheng back and slowly torture him to death. I don't care about other things, you can deal with it yourself. Next, I will find time to hold a morning meeting and mourn for all the members of the city guard." Lu Chuan walked in front of Xiao Huanqian and reminded him, "There are still a few survivors in the city guard. Take people to find them." "Really? I'll leave now." Xiao Huanqian turned around and left in a hurry, walking towards the city gate. Lu Chuan looked at Li Zunying and said, "Follow me, don't run around." Then, Lu Chuan also took Li Zunying into the city wall. After passing through the city gate and entering the city, Lu Chuan saw Dan Fangqing and the crowd at a glance. There were many people watching the excitement at the city gate. Things like sieges have not happened for decades, so it is naturally very curious. Lu Chuan walked towards Dan Fangqing. "Mr. Lu, you are not injured, right? What happened outside just now?" Dan Fangqing walked forward and looked at Lu Chuan very seriously. Lu Chuan spread his hands and said with a smile, "How could I be injured? Those invaders outside are all dead. Wangxing City is absolutely safe. Don't worry. That's good. Since you said so, it must be safe outside." "Mr. Lu, who is this?" Dan Fangqing looked at Li Zunying behind Lu Chuan. He was wearing a black suit, a hood and a veil, looking very mysterious. "He is Li Zunying." Dan Fangqing was frightened and took a few steps back when he heard this. "Mr. Lu, what's going on? Why is he following you? Isn't he our enemy?" Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. "I defeated him in the mass grave. He is no match for me at all. So, he is willing to admit defeat and become my helper." Li Zunying coughed lightly. "Mr. Lu, it's not that I'm not my opponent at all. We still fought back and forth." Lu Chuan glanced back at him. "Do you need to be so nosy?" Li Zunying took a step back and said with his head down, "I'm so nosy. Master Danfang, go back and rest. It's late at night. It's time to go back and rest. Go back quickly. Gu Xiaora is very worried about you." "What is she worried about?" "I haven't encountered any fatal crisis along the way." The three of them got on the carriage together and rushed towards the Danfang mansion. "General Li, tell me, who killed you? Where do you live? What force is it?" Lu Chuan looked at Li Zunying and asked. He nodded quickly and said, "Mr. Lu, our shadow killing army is an independent force that exists in the form of mercenary employment. That is to say, if someone pays us enough, we will do things for them. The previous missions were all going well. We helped people to get revenge and kill enemies. Until we met a financial sponsor. These people were extremely insidious and told us that the target was a caravan from a small city and that intercepting them would have no effect at all. It was not until we actually took action that we discovered that the target caravan was actually the Nangang family's escort team." So, Dan Fangqing interrupted him and asked quickly, "What did you say? The Nangang family? Have you offended them?" "Yes, because of this, we have offended the Nangang family. In their family, there is a being who is like a demon, with terrifying strength, and is good at setting up formations. When we passed through the Xian'an mountain, we planned to find a flat place to set up camp and rest, but the old man set up a formation and trapped us all, and we were killed one by one. That old guy was arrogant by nature. He slaughtered people and cursed at will. The brothers all died in anger and humiliation, and they were very unwilling to die." He looked at Lu Chuan and asked, "Do you know the Nangang family?" Lu Chuan frowned slightly. I met the Nangang family when I was in the secular world, but it should not be related to the Nangang family in Kunlun domain. That's right, the aristocratic families in Kunlun domain don't have much connection with the secular world. Many times, when someone from these families in Kunlun domain commits a crime, they give him something and drive him out to the secular world. People who are driven into the secular world can quickly get started and become a powerful family with a little treasure in Kunlun domain. Dong Fangcheng added seriously. Lu Chuan looked at Dong Fangcheng and continued to ask, do you know much about the Nangang family? Of course I know a lot. They are one of the most powerful families in Kunlun domain. How could I not know them? However, they have been neutral for many years and do not like to get involved in disputes. It is difficult to drag them into the water. Lu Chuan asked worriedly, if so, when your two families are both defeated, won't they reap the benefits? Dong Fangcheng smiled helplessly. That's right. So our battle with the Lu family has not officially started yet, and it has always been a small fight. Lu Chuan rubbed his forehead and fell into deep thought. According to what you said, the guy who killed you is an extremely powerful old man in the Nangang family. If I avenge you, I will offend the Nangang family. I'm now involved with the Dongfang family again. If I do this, won't I force the Nangang family to turn to the Lu family? Dong Fangcheng's face immediately became solemn when he heard what Lu Chuan said. This development direction is not acceptable. We are already slightly inferior to the Lu family. Now if the Nangang family is added, the two families will join forces and I'm afraid they can directly overthrow our Dongfang family's power. Dong Fangcheng said anxiously, fearing that Lu Chuan really offended the Nangang family. Lu Chuan stroked his chin and fell into deep thought. Then I will find an opportunity to kill that bastard quietly and cover up the news as much as possible. This is too difficult. You and this guy are fighting hard. If you meet that old man, it will be even more difficult. Lu Chuan glanced at Dong Fangcheng. Do you believe what he said? What about fighting hard? He is not my opponent at all. As for the old man, we can't make a conclusion before we fight. If it doesn't work, then I will break through one or two realms, and naturally I will be able to defeat this guy. Lu Chuan looked at Li Zunying and said, don't worry, I will definitely help you get revenge, but you also have to make good use of your own skills, and help me do things. Chapter 752 Target Lynching. Li Zunying nodded repeatedly at Lu Chuan and said sincerely, don't worry, I will do my best to help you. Lu Chuan continued to ask, where is the important force of the Nangang family? The murderer who killed us, if nothing unexpected happens, should be in Lincheng in the north. Lu Chuan looked at Dong Fangcheng and asked, where is Lincheng? Go north. There is a large dense jungle. In the dense forest, you can see a magnificent city. That is Lincheng. The natural resources there are rich, and living there will be relatively comfortable. Dong Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan and asked, where are you going? It will be closer to the Lu family there, but it will definitely not be faster than going straight. That is a place full of spiritual energy between heaven and earth. If you practice there, the speed of practice will be very fast. Lu Chuan thought for a while, then said, then I will go there next. Has your Dongfang family established its own power there? Lu Chuan asked curiously. Of course there are. How could we not get a piece of such an important place? That place is rich in spiritual energy, and it is also rich in various resources. There are countless spiritual medicines and herbs in the mountains, and all kinds of rare and exotic animals are countless. Many big families have established forces there. Anyone who can get a piece of the mountain can make a fortune. Such an important place, anyone with a little bit of strength will want to fight for it. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. In that case, let's set off on a certain day and go there. Dong Fangcheng continued, there must be Lu family forces over there, but now should be the period when their power is the weakest. If I'm not mistaken, that Lu Wu was originally a military general guarding the Lu mansion in Lincheng. I guess he received an emergency order and quickly rushed to Wangxing City to support the Lu mansion in Wangxing City. Now, he and the Lu mansion have perished. At least Wangxing City has completely belonged to the Dongfang mansion. At this time, the carriage stopped, and they came to the gate of the Dongfang mansion. After getting off the carriage, the three of them entered the Dongfang mansion one after another. Dong Fangcheng, take him to rest. We will set off tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. No problem. Dan Fangcheng looked at Li Zunying and said, come with me. He took Li Zunying away and found a place for him to live. Lu Chuan returned to his own courtyard. Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang were not seen in the courtyard, so Lu Chuan came to the house. After pushing the door open, Lu Chuan saw the candle light was on, and Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang were sitting at the dining table, chatting very attentively. The table was full of food. At this time, Gu Xiaorao looked at Lu Chuan and stood up quickly. Lu Chuan, you are finally back. Let's eat, but it's a little cold. I'll heat it up for you. Lu Chuan walked over and sat down. No need. What's the situation outside? I heard that it seems that someone is going to attack the city, and even the city guards are no match for the enemy, and we're wiped out. Lu Chuan sighed. This news spread so fast. Is it true? Gu Xiaorao asked in surprise. Of course it's true. The city guards are gone, all dead. Of course, the enemy army was also wiped out. Now the crisis is gone. Wangxing City is safe. Hearing this, Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang breathed a sigh of relief. Let's get ready in the next 2 days and go to the next city, Lincheng. Gu Xiaorao blinked curiously. Lincheng? Are we going there? Yes, I'll tell you the details slowly. Gu Xiaorao glanced at Gu Xiaosang, and then the two looked at Lu Chuan together. Lu Chuan, if not, you should go to Lincheng first. Xiaosang and I want to stay in the Danfang family first. After we cultivate our own strength to the martial emperor realm, we will come to find you. Lu Chuan looked at the two and asked, no need, I can protect you. I know you have this strength, but if we are not there, you can play better. We are only in the martial king realm now. We can still fight against opponents of average strength, but if we meet an enemy like Lu Wu, we will only be killed mercilessly. If you are always worried about me, it will be inconvenient for you to move, so. Lu Chuan frowned slightly. Gu Xiaorao's words made Lu Chuan fall into deep thought. If Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang stay in the Danfang family, it is not impossible. The Danfang family can also guarantee their safety. However, this is also a disguised way of handing the handle to the Danfang mansion. If he breaks up with the Danfang mansion one day, this is the handle. Although he is now an ally with the Danfang family, no one can say what will happen in the future. After thinking carefully, Lu Chuan shook his head helplessly. No, you two must come with me and stay by my side. You can't stay in the Danfang mansion. Gu Xiaorao looked at Lu Chuan in confusion and asked, what are you worried about? The Danfang family shouldn't do anything to us, right? Lu Chuan looked at Gu Xiaorao and said, what if? What if the Danfang family uses you two to control me? Can I not obey? Lu Chuan continued, go to Lincheng first. If there is a chance, I will arrange a place for you two to practice with concentration. When you come out of retreat another day, come to me again. That, okay, let's do it. Gu Xiaorao nodded and agreed to Lu Chuan's decision. Lu Chuan had a simple dinner and prepared to go to bed. The next day, Lu Chuan got up early, put on his clothes, and came to the yard. Sitting on the stone chair in the yard, Lu Chuan took out the soul-breaking sword. Then, he submerged a part of his soul into the soul-breaking sword. After some exploration, Lu Chuan found that there were about 500 or 600 soul fragments floating in the dark space. If so many soul fragments are released at the same time in a battle, it is unknown what the effect will be. Taoist Xiaoyao has made an indelible contribution to the accumulation of so many soul fragments. Lu Chuan stroked the sword and recalled the day when he first visited Taoist Xiaoyao. After retracting the sword, Lu Chuan got up and walked out of the yard. He came to the study and found Dan Fangcheng. After he finished breakfast, he usually came to the study to read seriously. Reading various ancient books can give him a deeper understanding of the Kunlun domain. After Lu Chuan came in, Dan Fangcheng hurriedly put down the ancient books, stood up, and looked at Lu Chuan. Mr. Lu, you came to me early in the morning. Let's discuss when to set off for Lincheng. No problem, we can set off today. I'm ready. There are still many things in Wangxing City that have not been dealt with, such as the remaining industries of the Lu Mansion. But with my third uncle here, he should be able to handle it, so it's okay for us to set off now. Chapter 753 Leaving the City. Lu Chuan and An Fangcheng walked out of the study together and began to pack up their things to leave Wangxing City and head to the next city. By the way, I heard that Gu Xiaorao and her sister both want to stay here to practice. Why not let them stay? I will send the best master of the Danfang family to teach them. Lu Chuan smiled and shook his head. No, I discussed it with them yesterday. After they learned about Lin Cheng, they are willing to go with me. Really? That's good, but you have to take good care of them on the way. Their strength may be a little weak. Lu Chuan looked at Dang Fangcheng and asked, what realm are you in? Martial King Realm 7th grade, almost 8th grade. The two of them are also Martial King Realm, both 2nd or 3rd grade. Hearing this, Dang Fangcheng was very surprised and asked, they are so young, but they are both Martial King Realm. Yes, they are both Martial King Realm. It is still far from the Martial Emperor Realm, but their strength is not weak. Dang Fangcheng couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, those who can follow you are not ordinary people. Since they are in the Martial King Realm, they can deal with many enemies. At least they should have no problem protecting themselves. In that case, take them with you. At this time, Li Zunying walked towards Lu Chuan. He was still dressed in black, with a vigorous pace, giving people a mysterious feeling. Mr. Lu, shall we set off now? Let's set off, but we still need to prepare. How about this? You ride a fast horse and rush to Lin Cheng first, and we will follow in the carriage. You go over to find out the situation first, and then come back to tell us the news. No problem, such a simple task, just leave it to me. He turned decisively and walked towards the stable. Dang Fangcheng looked at Li Zunying's figure and asked, let him find the way. Aren't you afraid that he will run away halfway? Lu Chuan smiled, shook his head and said, how is that possible? His revenge plan depends on me to complete it. If he leaves me, he will be alone and is no match for the Nangang family. In that case, I will give him more tasks and train him well. Okay, it will be good for us to have someone to find out the situation ahead. It won't be like running over in the dark. Mr. Lu, let's do this. I'll go prepare the carriage, and you go call Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang out. Lu Chuan nodded and walked towards the house. At this time, Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang had already gotten up, washed and dressed, and had breakfast. After Lu Chuan came over to inform them, they began to pack their luggage. Women's luggage is always a lot and complicated. After about half an hour, the two came out with boxes and came to Lu Chuan's side. Let's go, we are all ready. Gu Xiaosang looked at Lu Chuan with a smile. Aren't you afraid to continue to stay away from home? Lu Chuan looked at Gu Xiaosang and asked. This girl was very timid. On the way to Wangxing City, she was very worried. I have you here. With you by my side, what should I be afraid of? Gu Xiaosang smiled brightly, came to Lu Chuan, took Lu Chuan's arm, and started to walk forward. Let's go. I can't wait to go to Lin Cheng. I did a lot of homework last night. I heard that the place is beautiful, with picturesque mountains and forests and full of spiritual energy. I can't wait to go. Seeing Gu Xiaosang so anxious, Lu Chuan and Gu Xiaorao smiled at each other, shook their heads helplessly, and walked towards the gate of Danfang Mansion together. Gu Xiaosang rushed out of the gate in a flash. After seeing the carriage outside, she ran over quickly. The carriage is ready, let's go. She turned around and looked at Lu Chuan and Gu Xiaorao with interest. Gu Xiaorao took Lu Chuan's arm, and the two slowly walked down the steps and came to the carriage. Dang Fangcheng stood beside the carriage, looked at Lu Chuan, and said, let's go, it's ready. This is the best carriage in the mansion. It is expected to reach Lin Cheng in 1 day and 1 night. Li Zunying has already set off. He is riding the fastest black horse in the mansion. If he doesn't rest, he will reach Lin Cheng in 3 hours. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Dang Fangcheng walked forward and took the suitcase from Gu Xiaorao's hand. Miss Gu, if you need anything on the road, just tell me. Whether it's food or drinks, I have brought everything. Gu Xiaorao nodded slightly. Thank you for your help. No trouble, this is what I should do. Compared with what Mr. Lu has done, my preparations are simply insignificant. Lu Chuan smiled and nodded. Dang Fangcheng is still a person who knows how to repay his gratitude. He helped the Danfang Mansion to destroy its biggest enemy in Wangxing City. This is simply a great thing for the Danfang Mansion. Moreover, the city lord's city guards were also annihilated. This is equivalent to the Danfang mansion being the only one in Wanxing City, unrivaled. This status was almost entirely created by Lu Chuan. For everyone in the Danfang family, anyone with a conscience would thank Lu Chuan. Dongfang Zun walked out of the gate, looked at Dongfang Cheng and the others, and waved with tears in his eyes. We'll see each other someday, take care. Dongfang Cheng clasped his fists to Dongfang Zun. Uncle San, I'll come to see you again, but now, we have to go first. Okay, let's go to Lincheng. Go to a bigger city to show your skills. Young people should try more. Dongfang Zun watched the carriage turn the corner, and then returned to the mansion dejectedly. The carriage came to the city gate steadily all the way. It was unexpected to see that the city gate was still under martial law, and no one was allowed to enter or leave. Dongfang Cheng could understand this situation very well. The city guards were destroyed, and the city defense force was at its weakest at this moment. The city lord Zhao Huanqian ordered a state of martial law, strictly prohibiting entry and exit, and also to prepare for foreign enemies. After he reorganized the city guards and perfected the deployment, he could reopen the city gate for entry and exit. Dongfang Cheng stuck his head out, and after seeing the situation outside, he got off the carriage and walked towards the city gate. Everyone, open the door. We are going to leave the city. Sorry, no one can leave a city at this special moment. Dongfang Cheng immediately became stern. Gatekeeper, you should know me, right? I'm from the Dongfang family. My name is Dongfang Cheng. I'm going to leave the city now. Open the door. Dongfang family. He looked at Dongfang Cheng and was slow to recognize him. I don't know you. Dongfang Cheng sighed speechlessly. You are new here, right? Yes. The last person on duty was transferred back to form the city guard, and I'm here to replace him. Are all of you new here? The city gate guard nodded. Yes, we are all new here. Okay, now go report to your city lord and tell him that I, Dongfang Cheng, am going to leave the city, and ask him to come and see you off in person. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you. Chapter 754, Letter from the City Lord. The new guards in front of them obviously had not realized the seriousness of the problem. They had been training in the barracks before and did not know much about the outside world. But they knew one thing, that is, the city lord's order could not be disobeyed. The captain of the leading guard looked at Dongfang Cheng and said very seriously, let me say it one last time. The level of martial law this time is the highest level. It is a major matter related to the safety of the city. If at this critical juncture, some people with ulterior motives break in here and cause damage to the fragile Wanxing city, can you afford it? Dongfang Cheng put his hands on his waist, looked at the captain and asked, what if I say I can afford it? I'm sorry, you don't have the final say. Only our city lord's words count. He is the lord of the city and the only person in charge here. We should obey the orders he issues. Dongfang Cheng's face darkened. He stared at the captain and said, don't talk nonsense anymore. I don't want to waste too much time here with you. We don't want to waste time either. We have other things to deal with. Dongfang Cheng continued, if the city lord is called over, this little thing will probably become a big deal, and it will be difficult to resolve. I don't want to make things so serious. I advise you to be sensible and open the door. The captain of the guard team was still standing there, looking at Dongfang Cheng calmly. Impossible. Even if the city lord himself came, he would praise us for doing a good job. We have completed the task he assigned seriously. Dongfang Cheng covered his forehead and sighed helplessly. They are really a bunch of rookies. In that case, let the city lord come. He turned around and looked at the servant of Dongfang Mansion who was accompanying him and said, you go to the city lord's mansion and notify the city lord to come to the north gate. I will wait for him here. By the way, tell him that Lu Chuan is here too. Okay, young master, what if he doesn't come? What should I do? He dare not come. Just go to the city lord's mansion. We'll just wait here for a while. The servant got off the carriage and started running towards the city lord's mansion. Lu Chuan also got off the carriage and walked towards Dongfang Cheng. Don't you plan to let this guy go? No such plan at all. He is very stubborn and he thinks he is doing the right thing. Lu Chuan shrugged helplessly, then wait for the city lord to come. He did not discipline his soldiers well, which is his dereliction of duty. After a while, from a distance, the city lord Zhao Huanqian was seen riding a fast horse towards this side. Soon, the horse ran over and stopped beside the carriage. He quickly got off the horse and walked towards Lu Chuan. "Mr. Lu, I'm not too late, am I?" Zhao Huanqian hurried over and looked at Lu Chuan anxiously. "Not too late, but it did delay some time. We have to go to Lincheng. Time is tight, and I don't want to waste too much time." Hearing this, Zhao Huanqian nodded heavily. "No problem, leave it to me next." Then, he walked towards the guards. "You are all crazy, right? You dare to stop anyone?" The young master of the Dongfang family and Mr. Lu are both well-known figures in Wanxing City. It is really an insult to me that they were stopped by a few of you little minions, he shouted angrily. Then, a team of guards knelt down in front of Zhao Huanqian, not daring to continue to be stubborn. "Kneeling in front of me is useless. Kneel down to Mr. Lu and apologize to him. If he forgives you, you can still save your life. If he doesn't forgive you, you can die," Zhao Huanqian shouted angrily. Swish. The captain of the guard team quickly raised his head and looked at Zhao Huanqian with surprise. He never expected that the person he stopped casually would bring him a beheading. He suddenly broke out in a cold sweat on his back, trembling all over, and quickly knelt down in front of Lu Chuan. "Lu, young master Lu, I'm blind and ignorant. Please forgive me." Lu Chuan looked down at him and asked calmly, "Didn't you say that during the martial law period, no one can enter or leave? Do I have the qualifications?" He nodded quickly and said in panic, "Of course you have, please forgive me. I have been training in the barracks all day long and don't know much about the outside world. It is really my fault that I didn't know your name." He was shaking violently all over. He was a new soldier himself, who only knew to stick to the rules. Only when he offended a big shot did he realize that he had made a big mistake. Faced with such a situation, Lu Chuan was too lazy to be serious. "Forget it, since your attitude is still sincere, I will spare your lives. Next, we should leave the city. Lord Zhao, let's meet again another day." Lu Chuan turned around and looked at Zhao Huanqian. "Wait, I have something to give you." Lu Chuan looked at him curiously and saw him take out an envelope from his arms. "This is a letter of introduction I wrote. You can take it to Lincheng and give it to the city lord of Lincheng. After he reads it, he will naturally know something about you. The city lord of Lincheng is my close friend. We often meet privately. After you give him the envelope, he will help you a lot." Hearing this, Lu Chuan hurriedly took the envelope. "Really? Thank you so much. Thank you for your concern. The main consideration is that in Lincheng, the city lord has a dominant power. If you don't make friends with the city lord, it will be much more difficult for you to get things done in Lincheng. Take it and go. We'll see you another day." Zhao Huanqian waved at Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan got on the carriage, the city gate slowly opened, and the carriage drove out. After leaving Wanxing City, the carriage headed north all the way, heading towards Lincheng. On a long journey, you always need something to deal with boredom. Gu Xiaorao leaned against the window to embroider, and Gu Xiaorao lay down on her side to sleep. "Mr. Lu, the journey is long, take a break first." Lu Chuan nodded slightly, then continued to ask, "Do you know a lot about Lincheng?" Dong Fangcheng immediately became interested and continued, "I lived there for a while, when I was a child. It's a good place with beautiful scenery and suitable for living. And the spiritual energy is very abundant. When I was a child, I laid the foundation of martial arts there. That was indeed a wonderful time. When playing in the mountains and forests, you can feel the beautiful breath of nature. When we get there, I'll take you around. I haven't been there for many years, and I may not be very familiar with many places." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "No problem. It seems that you still know something about Lincheng, at least much better than me. Mr. Lu, you are really joking. You are from the secular world. If I don't know more than you, I have lived here in vain." Suddenly, Dong Fangcheng became curious and asked, "By the way, what kind of world is the secular world? I have never been there, and I have never heard of it, but I heard that it is a world completely different from Kunlun Domain." Chapter 755 Arrival in Town. Dan Fangcheng suddenly became interested in the secular world and looked at Lu Chuan with wide eyes. Lu Chuan smiled and asked, "What do you want to know?" "The secular world is the end of the Dharma era. Is this true?" he asked curiously. "Of course it is true. As for the specific reason, of course there is no way to know, but the spiritual energy in the secular world is so thin that people cannot practice." "Is that so? Then people in the secular world are all ordinary people. How can they survive?" he then asked curiously. Lu Chuan smiled helplessly. "You asked this. I don't know how to answer. I can't explain it to you for a while. In short, the people there have less pressure to survive and are more relaxed. Of course, they will also bear some pressure, but compared with Kunlun domain, at least they will not be in danger of life at any time." Dan Fangcheng nodded slightly after listening to Lu Chuan's words. "If Kunlun domain and the secular world fight, which side do you think will win?" Lu Chuan shook his head and smiled helplessly. "What's there to ask about this kind of question? This will never happen." "Why not? If you have the opportunity in the future, go to the secular world in person and take a look, and you will naturally know what kind of world it is." Dan Fangcheng nodded excitedly. "No problem. I have time. I must go and take a look." The two continued to chat in the carriage. Time passed unknowingly, and soon it was noon. It was time for lunch, and several people took out their lunch boxes, had a simple bite, and continued to wait in the carriage. "When it's almost evening, we will pass by a small town with an inn. Let's rest for a night and continue our journey tomorrow morning," Dan Fangcheng said while eating. Gu Xiaoran asked, "How about we drive directly to Lincheng at night? It will be dawn when we arrive in Lincheng, so it won't waste time. For a cultivator, staying up all night won't have much impact. If we travel overnight, it's not impossible, but it's easy to have accidents if we travel at night." Dan Fangcheng's face became serious and nervous. "There are also many bandits watching the roads near Lincheng. Our carriage is a big carriage, and it's decorated gorgeously. If we pass by at night, it's easy to be targeted by bandits. It will be even more troublesome to clean up the bandits at that time. So, it's better to rest for a night and leave at dawn." Dan Fangcheng obviously knew this place better. After he finished speaking, Lu Chuan nodded. "In that case, let's leave tomorrow morning." The carriage continued to move forward, surrounded by a green grassland, where herds of bison could be seen grazing. Gu Xiaosang leaned against the window, looking at the scenery outside with an intoxicated look. In the evening, the setting sun dyed the sky red, and the light gradually dimmed. From a distance, Dan Fangcheng saw the small town. The town is called Takeo Town, with a total population of only about 700 to 800 people, all of whom are people raising cattle and sheep nearby. "Let's rest in this town for one night first." The carriage drove into the town, surrounded by stone brick houses. Occasionally, a few passers-by could be seen, but they were all in a hurry, as if they had something important to do. Soon, the doors on the street were closed one after another, and the pedestrians on the road disappeared completely. Almost all the shops closed their doors. For a while, the streets became deserted. After Dan Fangcheng got off the carriage, he looked around curiously. He was a little puzzled. What were these people avoiding? Were they avoiding him? This was their first time here. It was impossible. Perhaps it was just because it was dark, so they all closed their stores early and went home, not wanting to get into trouble. Dan Fangcheng asked in confusion. "I feel that the security in this place may not be very good. All the gates are closed, and I don't know if we can stay in the hotel." Lu Chuan looked at Dan Fangcheng and asked, "Let's find the hotel first. Go in and ask." Dan Fangcheng took the lead and walked forward, and Lu Chuan and the others followed closely. Soon they came to a hotel. Tangfu Hotel, a very familiar name. "Go in and ask." Dan Fangcheng walked into the hotel and happened to see the proprietress standing behind the counter to settle the bill. She looked up at Dan Fangcheng, hurriedly walked out of the counter, raised her hands, and pushed Dan Fangcheng, and began to drive the guests away. "Ladies and gentlemen, please go. We are closed. Come back another day." "What day do you want to change? We will only stay for one night," Dan Fangcheng said impatiently. "There is no room for one night. We are not open now." Dan Fangcheng stood there, and the proprietress couldn't push him, so she just sighed helplessly. What's going on? Everything is closed at night. Who are you going to protect? Why do you care about this? It has nothing to do with you. Let's go quickly and don't affect us, she said anxiously. If you don't tell us, we will never leave, Dan Fangcheng said firmly. Seeing this, the proprietress sighed helplessly. Even if I tell you, you don't know. Do you know the Black Cloud Village? You have never heard of it, let alone their strength. This gang of villains will come tonight. Don't make trouble here. Move your carriage quickly and don't park here. It will attract people and cause trouble for me, she said impatiently. Dan Fangcheng frowned slightly when he heard it. Black Cloud Village. I haven't heard of it. It should have appeared in recent years, right? I don't care when they appeared. I only know that, as long as they come here, we will definitely have a hard time. Today, you should leave quickly. We won't accept customers. The proprietress continued to urge. Boss lady, just tell me the truth. What are they going to do in this town? I can help you. Dan Fangcheng continued to ask. He didn't want Lu Chuan and his friends to sleep in the open air or travel at night. The boss lady was completely speechless and could only compromise. With her own strength, she couldn't drive these people away. Okay, I'll tell you. Before, there was a man from the Black Cloud Village who came to our town and kidnapped all the children from several families. At the same time, he blackmailed us and asked us to redeem the children at the price of 1 tael of gold per person. Today is the time to pay. If you don't pay, they will kill you and massacre the town. Lu Chuan continued to ask, if they have the ability to massacre the town, is there any need to wait for you to pay? Just come and rob us. Those bandits are not stupid. If we keep us, they can continue to make money for them. If they kill us, they can only make a quick buck and there will be no steady income. Lu Chuan nodded slightly and continued to ask, when will they come? I'll go find them. Forget it, you go find them. With your small body, can you withstand a few knife blows? Don't worry about it. If these people come, I can deal with them, but the premise is that you let us stay for one night. Chapter 756 Black Cloud Village. Lu Chuan's words stunned the proprietress. She stood there and looked at Lu Chuan. Are you going to deal with the group of people from the Black Cloud Village? Do you have the strength to do so? Don't blame me for saying bad things. I see that you are very young and you are not very strong or muscular. It is hard to say whether you can be their opponent if you really fight with them. But I still advise you not to get involved in other things, as it is easy to get into trouble. At this time, Dan Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan seriously and asked, are you going to intervene? If you intervene, the Black Cloud Village should not be a problem. Just help them solve the problem. Otherwise, where should we stay tonight? How about we just live in the Black Cloud Village's lair? You are really bold. You even dare to live in the bandit's lair. Dan Fangcheng sighed. What is there to be afraid of? As long as you have strength, you can do whatever you want. This is Kunlun region. Dan Fangcheng took a deep breath. In that case, let's stay here and deal with the people in Black Cloud Village. He turned his head and looked at the proprietress. I'm telling you seriously, if we take action, the people in Black Cloud Village will be wiped out. But the premise is that your hotel must be open to us and let us stay for one night. The proprietress shook her head with a wry smile. Okay, it's just one night. But the key is, don't make me angry. If you are not their opponent and lose to them, won't they make trouble for me? Lu Chuan smiled confidently. You can rest assured about this. Leave the rest to us. By the way, were your children kidnapped by them too? Lu Chuan asked. That's right. One of my precious sons was found by the people of Heian Village when he was out playing, and then he was taken away. The day before yesterday, the people of Heian Village sent me a finger with a blackmail on it. I recognized it as my son's finger at a glance. I'm selling my property now, just to get the money together quickly. She lowered her head with a lonely look, obviously worried about this matter. Dan Fangcheng took out a gold ingot directly from his arms. You keep it first, just as a deposit, and hand it over to us. If we are defeated by the opponent, you can save your life with the gold. Seeing the golden gold, the proprietress's eyes widened, and she hurriedly walked forward to take the gold ingot, put it in her mouth and bit it hard. Real gold. Master, you are too generous. This is a whole gold ingot. I don't know how many years it will take to earn it," she said excitedly. Dong Fangcheng just smiled faintly. "You go back first and leave the rest to us." The proprietress took a deep breath and returned to the hotel lobby with joy. In the lobby, many people from the town came to seek refuge. When they saw the proprietress, they asked hurriedly, "Dong Jiao, who are those people outside?" "They are people from outside, staying at the hotel. You won't let them stay, will you? Tonight is critical. If they mess up, we will be in trouble." There were more than 20 people in the lobby. Like Dong Jiao, they all lost their children and were captured by the people of Heian village. Tonight, they have to pay a ransom to redeem their children. At such a critical moment, if someone messes up, they will be really angry to death. If a foreign traveler comes to rest and is woken up by the people of Heian village at night and accidentally curses a few words, what should we do? That's right, if they provoke the people of Heian village, we will all be dead. The gang of villains in Heian village may turn against us at any time, so we can't provoke them. The mayor of the town also came out. He walked out of the crowd with a cane. He was highly respected, and the people around him hurriedly made way for him. "Dong Jiao, you are a businessman, very smart. You should not make a fool at such a critical moment. Don't mess it up." Dong Jiao smiled and said, "The people who came today are noble people. They promised to wipe out the group of people in Heian village and help us to get justice." After these words came out, the whole audience was silent. To uphold justice. Dong Jiao, are you crazy? If someone could uphold justice, wouldn't they have done it long ago? You actually believe them. You want them to kill us. Dong Jiao, you are so confused. How could you do such a thing? Even Lin Cheng is too lazy to send people to clean up these bandits. Who else can help us? I also heard that the people in Black Cloud Village are backed by the power of Lin Cheng, so they are so bold and do evil. Haha, the situation is very clear. We must not confront the people in Black Cloud Village head on. That's right, not only us, but also the group of people outside. Let's all go out and drive them away. We can't let them kill us. Everyone was excited and all wanted to walk towards the door. At this moment, Dong Jiao shouted helplessly, "Give them a chance." After that, she took out the gold ingot and slammed it heavily on the table. She wanted to keep it for herself, but she was about to be unable to suppress this group of people, so she could only use it to suppress them. "Have you seen this gold ingot?" The distinguished guest outside gave it to me casually, saying it was a deposit. If they can't kill the people from Black Cloud Village, this gold ingot will be ours. How can a boss who can casually take out a gold ingot be an ordinary person? Everyone, think about it seriously. Perhaps this is really our only chance. Everyone stared at the gold ingot, and some people stared with their eyes wide open. In order to raise enough money for the ransom, many of them can be said to have sold everything they had and tried every trick. For them, this big gold ingot is very tempting. Is such a big gold ingot real or fake? Dong Jiao said proudly, "I'm an accountant. I can tell whether it's real or fake at a glance. Don't worry, this is definitely real gold. If they are not as good as the enemy, we will give the gold ingot away. Maybe we can save our lives." Everyone looked at each other, and for a while they all thought it was okay. Then, let's wait and see what the result will be next. Everyone hesitated for a while. Those who can casually take out a gold ingot are definitely not ordinary people, but have status and wealth that they can't imagine. Such a person must be powerful, otherwise he would not be able to keep his wealth. Everyone waited anxiously. Outside the door, next to the carriage, Lu Chuan stood on the street, waiting for the people from Black Cloud Village to arrive. "Master Lu, I don't know how many people will come. No matter how many, kill them all. Then you have to be quick and decisive. It's getting dark. Don't worry, it will be over in less than 3 moves." Chapter 757, Bandits Enter Town. At the entrance of the inn, Lu Chuan leaned against a dead tree, waiting for the so-called Black Cloud Village to arrive. Dong Fangcheng stood aside, also waiting quietly. Lu Chuan turned around, looked at Gu Xiaorao, and said, "Otherwise, you can go in first and wait for a while." "No, we will stand here to accompany you." Gu Xiaorao waved her hand and said, "You must be careful when the fight starts later." Dong Fangcheng looked at Gu Xiaorao and reminded her, "What kind of strength can a mere group of bandits have?" The two of them are at least at the level of martial kings. They can't be dealt with by just a few minions. Lu Chuan was very confident in Guziao and Guziao-san. The strength of the martial kings was not ordinary, and most warriors could hardly be their opponents. What's more, the weapons they both carried were not simple, and they would definitely be no match for them if they really fought. Lu Chuan looked out towards the street. There was almost no figure on the street. All the doors were tightly closed, and even the lights were all turned off. The whole town fell into darkness and silence. It seems that they are deeply persecuted by the bandits in Heian village. They live cautiously and dare not be careless. In this environment, they are really living in dire straits. Logically, who should deal with the bandits here? Lu Chuan asked. It depends on which city this town belongs to. This 2KO town is not a famous place. It should be managed by Lincheng. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. That is, the mayor of Lincheng, right? That's right. It should be the mayor of Lincheng who should deal with the bandits here. Lu Chuan smiled disdainfully. It seems that we can't count on them. I'm afraid that the official forces of Lincheng have long ignored the situation here. Dong Fangcheng nodded helplessly. It's possible. After all, it's hard for people to take this remote town seriously. In the dark town, there were several more flames. From a distance, a team of horsemen holding torches high walked on the wide street in the center of the town, swaggering forward. The man who led the way was a man wearing a coat made of black bear fur. He had a full beard, a round face, and his eyes were staring around. The men around him came over and looked at him with a flattering smile. Boss, the hotel is not far ahead. They said they have prepared enough money. This time we can have a good harvest. That's good. Let them prepare the money. If anyone dares not to pay, they will all be killed. The boss said with disdain. Brothers Aohihu, after this job, don't go to other places to collect some money? Someone on horseback came over from the other side and shouted at the boss. Second brother, don't worry, collect this wave of money first, and then go to other places to plunder. This town is not big. There are only a few places with money, and we can search them all quickly. Tonight is destined to be a harvest night. I feel relieved with what you said. Brothers, work hard tonight, make money, and take you to eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks. The second boss shouted excitedly. Boss, we are making such a big noise. What if we offend people from Lincheng? Zhao He who turned around and looked at the younger brother who was talking and shouted angrily. Look at your character. You are so cowardly. Why did I go to Lincheng in the first place? You don't know what I was doing, right? Let go and work hard tonight. No one can come to trouble us. Listen to me, everyone. Loot this broken town today. Collect all the money from the few places, and I will not let you go if you dare to miss one. He shouted loudly to the more than 40 younger brothers behind him. Then, the gang raised their machetes and shouted loudly. Yes, boss. A burst of shouting in unison frightened all the nearby residents and closed their doors and windows tightly. Many people even hid in their quilts and dared not show their heads. The bandits continued to move forward. The second in command looked at Zhao Hehu and asked, Brother, what should we do with the captured people after the mission is completed? What else can we do? Do you really want to give them back? They have been sent to Lincheng. What's the point of giving them back? Just take the money and leave. If they don't give in, just kill them. Why are you talking so much nonsense? The second in command nodded repeatedly. Brother, I understand. Tonight is our carnival, a carnival without considering any consequences. You finally said something right. That's right. Tonight is our carnival, and this broken town is our paradise. Zhao Hehu laughed happily and proudly, and his arrogance was fully revealed in his laughter. The team of Heian village gradually approached Tongfu Hotel. From a distance, they saw a carriage parked on the side of the road. The carriage was gorgeously decorated, with mahogany and exquisite silk on it. It was obviously made by a rich family. As they got closer, Zhao Hehu frowned. Is there anyone in this broken town who can afford to ride in such a carriage? It looks like they are from outside. Boss, this is an unexpected gain. If we rob this carriage, we will make a fortune. Not to mention what is hidden inside the carriage. The carriage itself is worth a lot of money. The second in command shouted excitedly. Do you need to talk nonsense? I have eyes and can see that. Since the fat meat is delivered to my door, how can I not eat it? Little guys, charge. Zhao He flicked the reins and rode his horse quickly to the front of the carriage. At this time, Lu Chuan's figure came out. He stood in the middle of the road and looked at Zhao He. Stop, you are from Heian village, right? Zhao He pulled the reins and stopped the horse under his crotch. He looked at Lu Chuan, looked him up and down, and asked, who are you? What do you want to do? I'm here to take your life, Lu Chuan said unceremoniously. Hearing this, Zhao He's face turned black. Being scolded by someone made him lose face. You bastard, no one in this area dares to talk to me like this. You are so bold. If I don't skin you alive today, it will be considered as my great mercy. He turned over and got off the horse, pulled out the machete from the saddle, and walked towards Lu Chuan. You are just one person, and you dare to contradict us. You think you are too old, right? Lu Chuan stood there calmly, looking at Zhao He and asked, are you going to come together, or one by one? As soon as these words came out, Zhao He was directly scared. Haha, you are so arrogant, and you want us to attack you together? I think you are looking for death on purpose. Brother, why waste time with this guy, who is looking for death? Just fight him directly. No hurry, I will fight him one-on-one, torture him slowly, and kill his prestige. I'm afraid this guy is a thug hired by the town. Today, I will let the people of the entire Takeo town know what will happen if they provoke me. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 758. Facing the reality. Zhao He raised his hand and pulled the machete out of the scabbard. He gripped the handle tightly and walked towards Lu Chuan. Boy, don't attack us together, or we will say we are bullying you. I'm here to deal with you, so that you can face the reality and know that there are always people better than you. Otherwise, you will take yourself too seriously. Lu Chuan sneered. It's really funny to hear you say this, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, you are just a dying man. I don't need to care about what you say. Looking for death. Zhao He shouted angrily and rushed towards Lu Chuan. In Tongfu Hotel, everyone was frightened by the shouting and cursing outside. Dong Jiao stood behind the counter. Her face was defeated and she was always feeling uneasy. They really started fighting. That young man is so brave. Can they be opponents? It seems that there are less than 10 people in their group. How can they fight against those vicious bandits? Hey, if the fight is over, if we make Zhao He angry, we will be implicated. What can we do? We can't go out now to stop them from fighting. It's bad luck. Who made us get into trouble with these bastards? Dong Jiao also sighed helplessly. Just accept your fate. We are all destined to be slaughtered. It doesn't matter if we die early or late. Outside the door, Zhao He rushed towards Lu Chuan. Although he was strong and 1.9 meters tall, his speed was not slow at all. He rushed up in a few steps and came to Lu Chuan. Then, he held the handle of the knife tightly and slashed at Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan still stood there, looking at the other party calmly. Judging from the few steps this guy took just now, his strength was very average, not exceeding the martial emperor realm. Perhaps, he looked like the peak of the martial king realm. Facing such an enemy, Lu Chuan was too lazy to even move. In an instant, a golden light suddenly shot out from Lu Chuan's eyes. Zhao He who looked directly into Lu Chuan's eyes, instantly felt a splitting headache, and a stabbing pain came over him, making his whole body soft and weak. He staggered back a few steps, and the fierce momentum just now was gone. He stepped back a few steps, knelt on one leg on the ground, and the cold sweat on his forehead kept falling. He gasped and looked up at Lu Chuan, his eyes full of shock. Just to look shocked him so much that he was fascinated, had a splitting headache, and almost lost his fighting ability. This gap in strength made his back cold. He took a deep breath and swallowed nervously. Just a face-to-face meeting just now made him realize the reality. Little ones, get your weapons ready. We are going to have a tough battle today. Zhao He scolded. Then, all the younger brothers behind him raised their weapons, ready to fight at any time. The second in command quickly stepped forward and helped Zhao Hehu up. Brother, how could this happen? Why didn't you chop down with that knife just now? Nonsense. Do you think I didn't want to chop down? This guy's not simple. Let's go together. More against less. Even if it costs a little, we must kill this bastard. He still didn't give up, gritted his teeth, and looked at Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan's calm look made him feel uneasy and began to doubt himself. Come on, he shouted loudly. At this time, Dan Fangcheng came out and stood beside Lu Chuan. Stop right there. Who dares to take a step forward? Zhao Hehu suddenly raised his head, looked at Dan Fangcheng, and asked, who do you think you are? How dare you order my people? Then, Dan Fangcheng took out the token of the Dan Fang family from his arms. I'm the youngest son of the head of the Dan Fang family, Dan Fangcheng. Do I have the right to order you? For a moment, all the bandits were shocked, and their forward steps stopped at the same time, and they all looked at Dan Fangcheng with horror. Zhao Hehu raised his head and stared at the token in Dan Fangcheng's hand. His breathing became rapid. The token was very familiar and absolutely genuine. Dan Fangcheng. Are you Dan Fangcheng? Have you never seen me? No. Zhao Hehu shook his head slightly. Now, do you still want to continue fighting? Zhao Hehu stood up, looked at Dan Fangcheng, and quickly bent down and clasped his fists. Since Master Dan Fang is here, we must not dare to be presumptuous. Lu Chuan stepped forward and asked, if he is not here, you dare to continue to be presumptuous, right? Zhao Hehu ignored Lu Chuan and continued to look at Dan Fangcheng. Master Dan Fang, we don't interfere with each other. You do your thing, I do mine, and we don't interfere with each other. How about it? If not, we can go back tonight. If you want to stay here, you can rest for a night and come back tomorrow. He looked at Dan Fangcheng sincerely, as if he was discussing with him. Dan Fangcheng smiled helplessly. It's useless to discuss with me. Talk to him. Dan Fangcheng glanced at Lu Chuan. Zhao Hehu also looked at Lu Chuan and asked quickly, tell him? Isn't he your thug? Dan Fangcheng's legs almost went weak, and he couldn't stand still. He is my thug? Are you blind? He is my big brother, and I'm just an attendant who helps him with things. If you are dissatisfied, tell him. It's useless to tell me, understand? Dan Fangcheng's words made Zhao Hehu stunned. He stared at Lu Chuan in a daze, and asked in disbelief, He is your big brother? You are an attendant? His mind was blank. What kind of person could make the young master of the Dan Fang family an attendant? Lu Chuan smiled awkwardly. My followers have already said that he and I are friends, but one thing is certain, I will make the decision in this matter. Dan Fangcheng took 2 steps back and stood behind Lu Chuan. Mr. Lu, you decide life and death. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. There's nothing to say, I think they all deserve to die. Dan Fangcheng continued, I understand, then I won't say any more. Zhao Hehu stared at Lu Chuan. Mr. Lu, your last name is Lu? The second in command came over and said nervously, isn't this person from the Lu family? We have offended people from 2 major families at once today. This is too unlucky, isn't it? Now even the people in Lincheng can't protect us. Zhao Hehu swallowed nervously. Mr. Lu, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please give us a chance. We promise not to come to this town again. Please be merciful and give us a chance. Without saying a word, he knelt on the ground, looked up at Lu Chuan, and continued to beg for mercy. I was a bad mouth just now. I shouldn't have scolded you. Give me a chance. I don't want to die yet. Lu Chuan looked at him and asked, tell me, who is the person who supports you behind you? Zhao Hehu lowered his head and fell into deep hesitation. He opened his mouth several times, but he didn't have the courage to continue. Is it the Lord of Lincheng? He nodded helplessly. Yes, it's him. Chapter 759 Shameful Activities. Zhao Hehu knelt on the ground, not daring to look up at Lu Chuan. Your backer is the Lord of Lincheng. Why is he protecting you? Lu Chuan continued to ask. This, maybe he also wants to get a piece of the pie. Lu Chuan couldn't help laughing, then looked at Dan Fangcheng and asked, will the Lord of Lincheng be interested in this little money? Dan Fangcheng shook his head quickly. How is it possible? Even if the whole town is sold, the Lord of Lincheng probably won't look down on this little money. Then he should be for something else. Zhao Hehu, you'd better explain the matter to me clearly. Lu Chuan continued to ask. Zhao He knelt on the ground. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead due to nervousness. The younger brothers behind him were all stunned at this moment, not knowing what to do. Zhao He looked up at Lu Chuan and showed a helpless smile. Brother, don't ask. There is nothing to ask. If you don't make it clear, I will force you to make it clear. Do you want me to do something? Lu Chuan asked. Zhao He trembled all over, and the flesh on his face was trembling. No need to bother you, I'll tell you. Actually, it was the Lord of Lin City who wanted to recruit us and let us join the city guards, but the prerequisite was that we had to pay some money. Otherwise, he would send troops to destroy us. You know, the bandits and mountain robbers outside the city have always been a headache for various towns. The Lord of Lin City has also spent a lot of effort to deal with them. In the end, he had no choice but to recruit us, but he didn't give us a chance in vain. So he asked us to hand over all the money we robbed to show our loyalty. Lu Chuan clenched his fists impatiently, and his knuckles cracked. Don't talk nonsense. If you don't tell the truth again, I will make you live a life worse than death. Brother Lu, I really said everything I should say. Please forgive us. I really know I was wrong. We will never come to this town again. He cried and said to Lu Chuan in a crying voice. Lu Chuan narrowed his eyes and continued to ask, you kidnapped several children in the town, right? Yes, that's true. Release them all. Zhao He said quickly, we have already released them. We released them when we went down the mountain. As long as tonight is over, they will be able to run back. Lu Chuan stared at him and continued to ask, are you lying? Did you release them? Zhao He pursed his lips and didn't know what to say for a moment. Lu Chuan walked forward, drew out the soul-breaking sword, and placed the blade on his neck. The cold sword made him tremble all over. Lu Chuan continued to ask, you still don't intend to tell the truth, right? In that case, I will use this sword to cut off your flesh piece by piece. How about it? Zhao He took a deep breath, lowered his head, and said helplessly, Mr. Lu, if I tell the truth, can you let me go? No, I can let you die quickly. Then I'll tell you. The actual situation is like this. The mayor of Lincheng wants to stand up for us and give us space to make trouble. His original words were, I don't care how you deal with me, but there is one thing you must do, and there can't be any ambiguity. What? That is, capture boys and girls and send them to Lincheng secretly. Lu Chuan grabbed his hair and continued to ask, then what? Then I don't know anything. I only know that I want to capture people and send them over, and I don't know anything else. Then the batch of people you captured before, have they been sent over? Lu Chuan asked again. Yes, it must have been sent over. What's the point of me keeping it? Then why are you blackmailing me? Well, I'm afraid they'll run away with the money. That's all I can say. Lu Chuan sneered. It seems you're quite smart. I didn't expect that the city lord of Lincheng would actually go along with you. It seems that Lincheng is not a good place. Swish. Lu Chuan suddenly swung the sword, and the sharp soul-breaking sword instantly chopped off Zhao He's head. Then Lu Chuan kicked his head with his foot and kicked it away. Seeing this, the second in command knelt down hurriedly and kowtowed to Lu Chuan repeatedly. Brother, we all followed him. Please spare us. We are just working for him, and he is the mastermind. Lu Chuan looked at the second in command and laughed. Why didn't you say this when he was alive? When he dies, you'll put the blame on him. How ridiculous. Swish. A touch of the sun god fire appeared in the palm of Lu Chuan's left hand. Then the flame gradually expanded and turned into a huge fireball. He pressed the fireball onto the sword, letting the flame burn on the sword. Seeing this, the second in command and a group of bandits were all panicked, and they immediately stood up and began to flee. Run. The boss is dead. Run quickly. The bandits fled in panic. The next moment, Lu Chuan swung the soul-breaking sword. Boom. The sword energy wrapped in flames attacked the crowd, and the sword energy exploded in the crowd. Countless flames scattered and fell on their bodies, burning fiercely. For a time, 9 out of 10 of the 40 or 50 bandits were burned by the flames and turned into firemen, fleeing everywhere with wailing. Screams came one after another, echoing in the middle of the town. Many people became more scared when they heard the screams coming from outside. Not long after, all the bandits were burned to death. The streets in front of them were full of charred corpses and Zhao Hihu, who had lost his head. This sword energy is really amazing. If you go to the battlefield in person one day, you will be even more impressive. Dong Fangcheng sighed. You can rest now. When we get to Lincheng, we must investigate this matter carefully. There is no need for this. Let the Lord of Lincheng do whatever he wants. There is no need to make more enemies. Dong Fangcheng suggested. It depends on the situation. If the Lord of Lincheng is strong enough and difficult to deal with, then let him go for now. After all, we still have the number one enemy to deal with. If he is average and still does evil, then I should deal with him. Dong Fangcheng nodded slightly. Okay, no problem. I support you. Cleaning up the Lord of Lincheng is not bad for Dong Fangcheng. On the contrary, it may be of great benefit. After all, in Lincheng, the official power of the Lord of Lincheng is much stronger than that of a group of clans. If the Lord of Lincheng is overthrown, then other forces can be strengthened. Maybe the Dongfang family will have the opportunity to develop into the first family in Lincheng. At this moment, the door of the hotel opened, and Dong Jiao ran out quickly, looking around excitedly. They are all dead. These bandits are all dead. Thank you so much. Dear heroes, please come in and have a rest. It is my honor to meet you. She looked at Lu Chuan and Dong Fangcheng with great excitement. Chapter 760, Pushing the Limits. People in the hotel came out one after another. When they saw the mess outside, they were all stunned. Are all the bandits dead? This hero really did it. He killed all these bandits. This is too amazing. There are less than 10 of them, but they can kill so many bandits. This strength is really extraordinary. This hero is so powerful. He must have an extraordinary background. For a moment, everyone gathered around and thanked Lu Chuan excitedly. Dong Jiao walked up to Lu Chuan and bowed to thank him. Thank you for your help, otherwise we really don't know what to do. Lu Chuan said disapprovingly. Let's go in and talk. Let's vacate the room first. We are going to stay tonight. No problem, I will clear the entire hotel and let you stay. Dong Jiao said excitedly. Lu Chuan walked into the lobby and looked around. The layout here was average. It was not as good as the big restaurant in Wanxing City, but at least it was clean and tidy. The guy who died in your hands, wasn't he called Zhao Hihu? Dong Jiao hurriedly came over with a teapot and poured a cup of tea for Lu Chuan. Yes, it was Zhao Hihu. Dong Jiao breathed a sigh of relief. Great, it's okay if it's Zhao Hihu. He's the boss of Black Cloud Village. As long as he dies, Black Cloud Village will probably be disbanded sooner or later. From now on, our group of people will have a peaceful life. Dong Jiao brought a cup of tea to Lu Chuan and then asked, by the way, sir, are there those children in this team? She looked at Lu Chuan expectantly. Of course not. Dong Jiao said helplessly. Then, what should I do? My son must still be locked up in Black Cloud Village, and I don't know if he can be released. It's probably hanging now. The people in Black Cloud Village must not have all been dispatched. If they knew that their boss was dead, they would definitely kill him without hesitation. The others gathered around and talked anxiously. What should we do? Otherwise, we should block the news and not let the news of Zhao Hihu's death get back to Heian Village. Forget it. With such a broken town, how can we block the news? The people in Heian Village will definitely know the news tomorrow morning. What should we do? My daughter is dead. How about we organize ourselves and go up the mountain to find Heian Village? That's right. Let's organize ourselves and go up the mountain. The core figures of Heian Village are all dead. They are just a bunch of gangsters guarding the village. They will definitely not be able to beat us, someone suggested. But soon, this group of people became scared. Even though many people in Heian Village were killed and injured, they still didn't have the courage to go up the mountain with weapons. The reason is very simple. They don't have the strength. They are all ordinary people who have never been exposed to martial arts in their lives and don't know how to fight at all. If they rush up the mountain, they will only be slaughtered. At this time, one of them came out and came to Lu Chuan, saying with a smile, "Big brother, please help me one more time. It's just a piece of cake to go up the mountain and destroy the Black Cloud Village. We will all thank you for helping them to the end." He sat directly beside Lu Chuan and looked at Lu Chuan with a smile. Dong Fangcheng grabbed his neck and lifted him up. "What did you say?" What do you think of me as your big brother? Your special thug, right? The man panicked, put his hands together, and said with a smile, "It's unfair. I never thought so. This kind of small matter is just a piece of cake for you. What's wrong with helping? I kowtow to you, right?" He showed a rogue smile, looked at Luchuan, and continued to ask, "Big brother, will you help or not?" Dong Fangcheng clenched his fist and punched the man in the face. Bang! Dong Fangcheng punched him in the nose, and then, with a click, the guy's nose was directly crooked and blood flowed out of his nose. "Ah! Why did you hit me? Did I provoke you?" He covered his nose and screamed. Dong Fangcheng glanced at the rest of the people and asked coldly, "You guys, we helped you clean up Zhao Hihu. You are not satisfied, right?" Dong Jiao knelt down quickly, and the others were frightened and stepped back a few steps. "Master, we didn't say that. It was just him who said it. He can't represent us." Dong Fangcheng stared at Dong Jiao and continued to ask, "Do you still need our help?" "No, you have already helped us a lot." Dong Jiao lowered her head and said nervously. Luchuan waved his hand, "Put this guy down." Dong Fangcheng threw him aside and slammed him heavily on a wooden table, which was instantly smashed to pieces. Luchuan looked at everyone and said, "Your children are no longer in Heian village. Even if I attack Heian village, I can't save them. I just interrogated Zhao Hihu. Your children were sent to Lincheng by him. As for who they were sent to, you don't need to know. Knowing it won't solve the problem, and it will only add to your troubles." Dong Jiao raised her head suddenly, looked at Luchuan, and asked hurriedly, "Sir, do you mean that my son can't come back?" Luchuan nodded slightly. "He can't come back. Give up the thought." "Ah." She immediately lowered her head and burst into tears, pulling out a silk scarf to wipe her tears. "Let's go. We should rest." "Hero, Zhao Hihu captured someone. Why did he send him to Lincheng?" "Why?" Luchuan stood up and said casually, "No reason. Don't ask so many questions. I'm too lazy to answer." Luchuan said disapprovingly, and then walked towards the stairs. Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang followed closely behind. When Gu Xiaorao passed by Dong Jiao, she patted her shoulder and said, "Your condolences." Dong Fangcheng followed Luchuan and walked up the stairs. The crowd in the lobby gradually dispersed. Although Zhao Hihu was dead, they were still not happy. They stayed in the hotel for one night. The next morning, Luchuan got up and went downstairs. In the lobby, several tables were placed together, filled with various delicacies, and the aroma of food filled the entire hotel. When Dong Jiao saw Luchuan, she hurried over. "Everyone is awake. Come and eat. I have taken out all the stock, the most sumptuous meal." Luchuan pulled out a chair and sat down. "It's too much trouble for you. Breakfast can't be eaten too much, so I shouldn't prepare so much. It's okay. Just eat it. It doesn't matter if you can't finish it. Just be happy." Dong Jiao said with a smile. Obviously, Zhao Hihu's death made her very happy. Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang, as well as Dong Fangcheng and several followers of the Dongfang family also went downstairs and sat at the dining table and started to eat breakfast. After hurriedly finishing their breakfast, Luchuan and his companions walked out of the hotel, ready to get on the carriage and continue their journey. Chapter 761 Arrival at Lincheng. After Luchuan and his companions got on the carriage, they continued on their way, heading towards Lincheng. The carriage drove out of the town. After hearing about Luchuan's good deeds, many people on the road came out to see him off. The noisy noise outside made Luchuan a little irritated, although they were all words of gratitude. Soon, the carriage left the town and got back on the road, heading towards Lincheng. The surroundings gradually became quiet, without the noise of people, leaving only the purest sounds of nature. Luchuan leaned back in his chair and turned his head to look at Dong Fangcheng. "Didn't you live in Lincheng for a while? Have you met the mayor of Lincheng?" "Of course, he came to congratulate me on my birthday. As far as I can remember." Dong Fangcheng recalled. "As far as I can remember, he was tall and strong, with a standard square face, thick eyebrows and big eyes. From his appearance, he was a very decent person. I was quite friendly when I saw him when I was a child. By the way, his name is Wan Changdang. What do the people in Lincheng think of him?" Luchuan continued to ask. "Well, there's not much to say about this. He doesn't show off. Only people from a few big families know that he's very powerful, and they don't dare to provoke him easily. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. I know this without you saying it. Anyone who can be stronger than the Lu family and the Dongfang family must be very powerful. Let's wait until we get into the city and see. Lu Chuan took out the envelope given by Zhao Huanqian from his arms. The envelope was sealed, and Lu Chuan chose not to open it. If it was opened, the envelope would be invalid. The carriage was bumpy all the way. Afternoon. It was no longer far from Lincheng. The dense forests around almost blocked the sky, preventing the sun from shining down. Under the cool shade of the trees, people felt a cool breeze. Gradually, they could see the general outline of Lincheng. Like other cities, Lincheng was also surrounded by walls, but the scale of Lincheng was obviously larger. Moreover, this Lincheng also had a city within the city. It was divided into the inner city and the outer city. The inner city wall was the area controlled by the city lord himself. The training of the city guards, the selection of soldiers, and the food, clothing, and daily life of the city lord are all here. It can be said that it is the core position of the entire Lincheng. Being able to occupy an area in this huge city alone, it can indeed be seen that this person has an extraordinary status. Compared with Zhao Huanqian's status in Huangxing City, this one Changdong is much higher. There are more and more carriages on the dirt road. Lincheng is also a big commercial city, so it has close exchanges with other surrounding areas. When it was almost evening, Lu Chuan and his team finally approached the city. From the outside, the city wall here is towering, as high as 30 or 40 meters, and the length is also quite amazing. Looking to the side, it is even difficult to see what is at the end. The carriages lined up to enter the city gate. Then, Lu Chuan saw an extremely prosperous street. There are many shops here, and many children are playing happily on the street. The carriage slowly drove on the road. Gu Xiaosang stuck her head out and looked at everything around her excitedly. Arriving in a brand new environment, she suddenly felt extremely curious. Lu Chuan looked at Dongfang Cheng and asked, where is the Dongfang mansion in Lincheng? Let's go directly there. The driver knows how to get there. Let him go. We don't need to worry about it. It's getting late today. Let's go and see the city lord tomorrow morning. Dongfang Cheng frowned slightly. This may not be easy to do. The city lord is not someone you can just meet casually. I don't believe it. I have Zhao Huanqian's letter of recommendation. How can he not see me? Even if he doesn't know me, he should give Zhao Huanqian a face, right? That's true. I'll go with you tomorrow. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. The carriage moved forward slowly and soon arrived at the gate of Dongfang Mansion. The road in front of the gate of Dongfang Mansion is quite wide and is a neat stone road. The quality of this road is much better than that of Huangxing City. The carriage stopped at the door, and immediately a servant from the mansion came out and knelt on the ground respectfully to welcome Dongfang Cheng's arrival. As the son of the head of the Dongfang family, he has a high enough status and authority, no matter which Dongfang mansion he goes to. After Dongfang Cheng got off the carriage, everyone shouted in unison, "Welcome Master Dongfang Cheng to the Dongfang Mansion in Lincheng." Dongfang Cheng got off the carriage, waved to everyone and said, "Everyone get up, take my friends in to tidy up, and arrange the best rooms for them. These people are all VIPs. If any of you neglect them, it will be a capital crime." "Yes, Master Dongfang." The servants hurried forward and took Lu Chuan and others into the mansion. Dongfang Cheng walked into the Dongfang Mansion together. The climate in Lincheng is quite comfortable, warm in winter and cool in summer. If you live here permanently, it will be a good thing, Dongfang Cheng said with a smile. After entering the courtyard, he pointed to the mountain and water fish pond and said, "This environment is not bad. If you have the leisure time, you can drink tea and feed the fish here." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. At this time, a figure came out and walked quickly towards the few people with a bright smile on his face. "Master, you are finally here. I missed you so much." A gray-haired old man came out. He was wearing a white robe and looked to be about 60 or 70 years old. "This is the lord of Dongfang Mansion, Dongfang Changzi. He is my distant relative. You can just call him Uncle Changzi." Lu Chuan bowed slightly to Dongfang Changzi and said with a smile, "I'm Lu Chuan. These two are my friends, Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang." Master Lu, you don't need to introduce them. I have heard Dan Fangcheng introduce you a long time ago. Dan Fangcheng likes you very much. He walked up quickly and looked at Lu Chuan with admiration. Mr. Lu, please stay in the mansion. If you need anything, just tell us. We will do our best to help you complete it. Lu Chuan smiled and nodded. But I have a request now. Can you help me meet the city lord? Dan Fangcheng nodded heavily. No problem. Don't worry. I promise you can meet him. How about this? I will take you to meet him tomorrow. I'm afraid it won't work tonight. The city lord is entertaining VIPs tonight, and you probably won't be able to meet him. Lu Chuan asked hurriedly. Entertaining VIPs? Aren't you considered a VIP? If it's a VIP, you should be one of them. Dan Fangcheng also asked immediately. Mr. Lu is right. What VIP is he entertaining? Why didn't he invite our Dan Fang family to attend? Dan Fangcheng sighed helplessly. I heard that the people he entertained are from the Lu family. Lu Chuan narrowed his eyes slightly. Lu family? I'm also a Lu family. If that's the case, how about I go to join in the fun tonight? Lu Chuan looked at Dan Fangcheng. Go now? Go now. I want to see what they are going to discuss. Chapter 762 Meeting with the City Lord. Dan Fangcheng grabbed Lu Chuan's arm and persuaded him. Mr. Lu, you must be tired after 2 days of traveling. You should rest early tonight. I will take you to see the city lord in person tomorrow. He will definitely give me a face and come out to see you. Don't worry about this. You will definitely meet Wan Changdan. Lu Chuan took his arm back and said, thank you for your trouble, but I will go there now to visit him. Okay, but if you let someone from the Lu mansion see you, won't something happen? What can happen? Wasn't Lu Wu transferred from here? Yes, you saw him? Dan Fangcheng immediately said, Uncle Changxi, I forgot to write to you. Lu Wu is dead. What? Dead? Dan Fangcheng asked with some surprise. Yes, he is dead. He died in Wangxing City. And he died at the hands of Lu Chuan. Dan Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan. His eyes began to solemn. You can actually kill Lu Wu. It's really not easy. Lu Chuan looked at Dan Fangcheng and asked, do you want to come with me? Let's go. I'm not afraid of them. Dan Fangcheng said naturally. Then let's go. Lu Chuan looked at Gu Xiaorao and said, you rest here first. I'll be back later. Okay, then you have to be careful. Don't worry, go to bed early at night and have a good rest. Gu Xiaorao nodded slightly. Dan Fangcheng looked at the servants next to him and ordered, entertain Miss Gu well. If you neglect her a little, I won't forgive you. Yes, master. Then, Lu Chuan and Dan Fangcheng walked out of the gate of Dan Fang Mansion. Dan Fangcheng looked at Gu Xiaorao and showed a flattering smile. Miss Gu, right? Please come over here. We have prepared the best guest rooms a long time ago. The environment is beautiful and comfortable to live in. Lu Chuan and Dan Fangcheng walked on the Sunset Street and walked towards the direction of the city lord's mansion. When we get to the inner city, how do we get in? Lu Chuan looked at Dan Fangcheng. I'll show you the Dan Fang family token and you should be able to get in. That's good. Let's go and take a look. The two walked on the street and soon arrived at the gate of the inner city. The city wall here is not very high, only more than 10 meters. It's like a urn city. Lu Chuan came to the gate and was stopped by the guard. Who are you? I'm Dan Fangcheng, and I'm here to visit the city lord. Please go back. The city lord won't see anyone today. Isn't he going to receive the Lu family today? How can he not see anyone? Lu Chuan asked. Why are you asking so many questions? Does it have anything to do with you? The guard said arrogantly, not taking the two people in front of him seriously at all. Dan Fangcheng directly took out the Dan Fang family token and showed it to the guard. I'm from the Dan Fang family. Let me in. I have something to do with the city lord. It's useless for you to show any token. The city lord won't see anyone today. You should go back. Dan Fangcheng gritted his teeth and his face flushed slightly. What do you mean? You don't take our Dan Fang family seriously. Are you planning to completely turn to the Lu family? Is that right? Sorry, I have no comment. Lu Chuan had no choice but to take out the envelope. This is a letter of recommendation written by Zhao Huangqian, the lord of Wangxing City, and he asked me to give it to your lord when I arrive in Lincheng. Now that I'm here, give this envelope to your lord. After he reads it, he should let us in. Zhao Huanqian, Lord Zhao? The guard murmured in confusion. Then, he took the envelope. Since it was Lord Zhao who recommended us, then I will hand it to the Lord. After he reads it, he will make a final decision and consider whether you can enter. Then, the guard opened the city gate and turned to enter the inner city. Lu Chuan and An Fangcheng stood at the door and waited. After an unknown amount of time, the guard came out again, and the envelope in his hand had disappeared. You two, please come in. The city lord is waiting for you inside. Dong Fangcheng laughed and asked, didn't he say he wouldn't see anyone today? What's the situation now? The guard gritted his teeth, but he had no choice but to swallow his anger. After Dong Fangcheng finished his boasting, he walked in. After the two of them walked into the inner city, they saw the military camp not far ahead. They could see many soldiers in armor training. These soldiers were full of vigor and energy. Not far ahead, Lu Chuan saw the city lord's mansion. Here in the inner city, the entrance to the city lord's mansion was much quieter. In Wanxing City or other cities, this was not the case. Lu Chuan and An Fangcheng walked quickly to the city gate. The city gate opened, and the servants of the city lord's mansion were waiting for the two to come. You two are Lu Chuan and An Fangcheng? Yes, it's me. Dong Fangcheng continued. Come in with me. I'm the housekeeper of the city lord's mansion. I'll take you to see the city lord. Lu Chuan and An Fangcheng followed his footsteps and walked towards the meeting hall. Just now the city lord was receiving people from the Lu family, so it was not convenient for him to see you two. But since we have the letter from Zhao Huanqian, we can make an exception and let you go. The housekeeper said so. Lu Chuan couldn't help but sigh. This Zhao Huanqian is quite capable and has some status. Soon, they arrived at the door of the meeting hall. Go in, the city lord is waiting for you inside. Lu Chuan pushed the door open and walked into the meeting hall. Then, Lu Chuan saw that the city lord Wan Changdong was sitting on the main seat with a sharp look in his eyes, looking forward. Are you Lu Chuan? He asked loudly in a deep voice. I'm Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan replied confidently. Okay, please sit down. Lu Chuan sat down next to him. You are quite courageous. You know I'm meeting with the Lu family now, yet you still dare to come here. Do you think I'm afraid of them? Of course, who in the world is not afraid of the Lu family? Lu Chuan looked at Dong Fangcheng and said, you have something to say? Dong Fangcheng stood up and looked at the city lord. Maybe not. Although the Lu family is powerful, they are not invincible. There are many people who can deal with them. But it is definitely not you. Wan Changdong added. It's not the end yet, and it's hard to say who will win or lose. Dong Fangcheng continued. Dong Fangcheng, when I saw you last time, you were still a little kid, but now you've grown up enough to argue with me. Dong Fangcheng smiled. People change, isn't that normal? You found your elder brother, so you're more confident now, right? If you came alone, would you have the confidence to talk to me like this? Lu Chuan suddenly said, Lord Wan, you're already firing at full force when we just met. Are you treating us as enemies? Wan Changdong continued. Lu Chuan, let me ask you, did you take care of the people from Heian village? You're well informed. You knew about what happened last night today. Who told you to move? He questioned. I can move whenever I want. Do you think there's a problem? Chapter 763 The Lu family elder. Wan Changdong sat in the main seat, staring at Lu Chuan. Didn't Zhao He Hu say my name before he died? What does it matter whether he said it or not? Wan Changdong nodded slightly. He must have said it. He said my name, but you still killed him. In other words, you didn't take me seriously. Lu Chuan shrugged and said disapprovingly, I just think he deserves to die. It has nothing to do with you. If you think it's inappropriate, then I can't do anything about it. The person is already dead. Okay. You young man, you are so arrogant. You don't take me seriously at all. Even people from the Lu mansion have to be respectful when they come to me. You actually have such an attitude. It can be seen that you are indeed not an ordinary person. Then, he looked at Dong Fangcheng and asked, why? Do you people from the Dong Fang family have this attitude towards me? Your Dong Fang family is not even as good as the Lu family. When you see me, can you greet me disrespectfully? Dong Fangcheng said in a tough attitude. Our Dongfang family is not as good as the Lu family now, but it doesn't mean it will always be like this in the future. There is no eternal strong in this world. I'm afraid the decline of the Lu family is not far away. Wan Changdong took a deep breath. You are quite courageous. It seems that you two came here to show off your power to me, right? Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. I don't mean that. Then why did you come to me? Just tell me. Lu Chuan continued. Zhao he who said that he sent a group of boys and girls to you. Is this true? Wan Changdong hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, that's not true at all. He wants to blame me for his own affairs. If you are a smart person, you won't believe his nonsense. Lu Chuan smiled slightly and continued to ask, but why do I feel that he doesn't seem to be lying? What he said may be true. Haha, what do I need those little brats for? What can I do? I want elite soldiers, not a bunch of little brats. This is not a school, he said with a smile, looking indifferent. Lu Chuan stood up and scanned the entire meeting hall. Your city lord's mansion is very gorgeous. It seems that there is a lot of money in Lincheng. Of course. The surrounding mountains with spiritual energy provide a lot of resources. It is normal to make money. What else do you want to say? Lu Chuan continued to ask, you are hosting people from the Lu mansion tonight. I want to meet them. Are you dreaming? You and they are enemies. How could they meet you? If you have nothing else to do, please go back. I have other things to do here. Don't bother me anymore. Dong Fangcheng stood up and came to Lu Chuan's side. If you can't find out anything, then just leave. The city lord's time is also precious. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Then we will leave first. Just leave like that? Wan Changdong asked back. Do you still want me to say goodbye to you warmly? Lu Chuan also asked back. Forget it, you two go. We will see each other when we have time. He waved his hand, indicating that Lu Chuan could leave. Lu Chuan and Dong Fangcheng walked out of the city lord's mansion together. Then, they crossed the streets of the inner city and came to the city gate. Under the watchful eyes of the guards, the two walked out of the inner city. When they came to the side of the city wall, Dong Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan curiously. Mr. Lu, aren't we going back now? Don't rush back, let me investigate the situation inside first. But, we are already out, how can we go in to investigate? Lu Chuan patted Dong Fangcheng's shoulder. I will meditate here later. You stay by my side and help me pay attention to the surroundings. Ah, why? He scratched his head in confusion and looked at Lu Chuan in confusion. Don't ask so many questions, just do it. Okay then. Lu Chuan then sat cross-legged, leaned against the city wall, and meditated upright. Dong Fangcheng stood aside, scanning the surroundings from time to time, always paying attention to the surrounding situation. At the same time, Lu Chuan's soul separated from his body and floated forward in the air. After entering the city, Lu Chuan also overlooked the entire inner city. The entire inner city is quite large, and the city lord's mansion alone occupies 1/3 of the area. The rest of the place was the city guards' barracks, training grounds, and some warehouses. Lu Chuan continued to move forward towards the city lord's mansion and soon entered the mansion. Then, Lu Chuan returned to the council hall he had just left. Lu Chuan's soul was suspended just above the council hall, just overlooking Wan Changdong's position. At this time, Wan Changdong was sitting in his original position, with no intention of leaving. Lu Chuan was a little curious. He had obviously sent the guests away, so why was he still sitting here? Then, Lu Chuan saw a figure slowly walking in here. The figure walked in quickly and walked towards the direction of Wan Changdong. He was an old man with grey hair and a slightly hunched figure, but his feet were full of wind and his steps were extremely fast. He came to Wan Changdong and asked nervously, why did that guy named Lu Chuan come to you? Nothing, he just asked something, but I didn't tell him the truth and sent him away. These two guys are very brave and have bad tempers. They don't seem like people who are easy to mess with. The old man sighed. Alas, there's nothing we can do. No one would have thought that he would have such strength. If we had known it earlier, we should have sent out strong men to kill him immediately. What a pity. Now this guy has even colluded with the Dongfang family, which makes it even more difficult. Wan Changdong looked at the old man and asked, Lu Baigsun, do you think our cooperation can defeat Lu Chuan and the Dongfang family? Nonsense. Why are you asking this? Our Lu Mansion is cooperating with you. We are the strongest existence in Lincheng. Whoever dares to disobey or challenge us will be killed. Why are you still worried about this? Wan Changdong continued. I think that guy named Lu Chuan is not afraid of me. This guy is just a young and foolish man. He is not afraid of anyone. Why do you care about him? He is just a little talented and has not really seen what the top level of Kunlun domain is. His existence will not cause much impact. Brother Lu, my subordinate Zhao he who outside is dead. Do you need someone to take over? Of course I have to. It's best to send someone directly from your team and find someone trustworthy. Wan Changdong took a deep breath and seemed a little nervous. If I let my people go out to do this kind of thing, if it is exposed, I will lose face. What are you afraid of? Is there anyone in the whole Lincheng who dares to disobey you? The other families are respectful when they see you. What are you afraid of them doing? I, Wan Changdong, don't want to be a tyrant. It is very important to have a good reputation. Wan Changdong said seriously. Chapter 764. The Temptation of the Martial Saint Realm. In the meeting hall, Lu Chuan was suspended in the air, looking down at the conversation between the two people below. Wan Changdong seemed very conflicted, while Liu Beixuan looked indifferent. As the city lord, you still care about your reputation. Reputation is useless. If you have enough strength, who among the people below would dare to disobey you? If you cooperate with me well, I guarantee that you can break through to the Martial Saint Realm. Wan Changdong's eyes lit up. I'm only a little bit away from the Martial Saint Realm. If you can help me cross it, I will be very grateful. He looked at Liu Beixuan gratefully. The temptation of the Martial Saint Realm was too great for Wan Changdong, and he could not resist it at all. If someone could help him break through to the Martial Saint Realm, they would definitely be his reborn parents, and they would be very kind. Liu Beixuan smiled faintly. No problem. Lu Wu was my work. If he can enter the rank of Martial Saint, then naturally you can too. In our Lincheng Lu Mansion, there is only one Martial Saint, Lu Wu, and he was killed by that bastard. I must avenge him. Wan Changdong patted his chest hurriedly. Let me avenge you. As long as you can help me enter the rank of Martial Saint, I can avenge you. I'm afraid you can't do it alone, but if you bring your city guards, there are more than a dozen martial emperors in it. If you take them out together, you can kill Lu Chuan for sure. Wan Changdong nodded repeatedly. Brother Lu is right. As long as I break through to the Martial Saint, I will immediately take my brothers to avenge you. Okay, I believe you. In that case, you can't miss any of my requirements, and you must meet them all. 100 boys and girls, that's hard to find. Wan Changdong frowned. Aren't there plenty of them in the city? Find a few smarter men, and it will be done in one day. Wan Changdong panicked immediately. How is it possible in one day? So many people disappeared in one day. The city will be in chaos. I don't care. You need to meet my requirements as soon as possible. Otherwise, you can slowly wait for your breakthrough opportunity. Big brother, don't worry. I will never let you down. Thank you for your help in my breakthrough to the Martial Saint Realm. Don't thank me. Just work hard with our Lu family in the future. Don't stab us in the back. Wan Changdong hurriedly said sincerely. This is absolutely impossible. Don't worry. We will be long-term partners in the future. Okay, let's stop here. I'll go back first. Be careful that the walls have ears and someone hears it. Impossible. I'm heavily guarded here. It's impossible for anyone to hear our conversation. There are people outside people. There are heavens outside heavens. There are some means that you can't think of. After saying that, Liu Beixuan looked up and looked in the direction of Lu Chuan. Then, he showed a wicked smile on his face. Lu Chuan stared into his eyes, sneered, and then left the meeting hall. Wan Changdong looked at Liu Beixuan's weirdness and asked hurriedly, is there something up there? That's the beam. There can't be anyone there. I can feel it. Just when we were talking, someone was hanging over our heads, monitoring and eavesdropping on us, but now, he's gone. Ah. Impossible. I didn't see anything. Wan Changdong looked incredulous. You can't see it. I didn't see it either. Then, I can feel it. Wan Changdong scratched his head, looking confused, not understanding what Liu Beixuan said. Nothing else. I'll leave first. Come find me when we get together. Okay, I'll see you off. No need, go and do your own thing. At the same time, outside the city gate, Lu Chuan opened his eyes and stood up from the ground. Mr. Lu, what's the use of you meditating and practicing now? He looked at Lu Chuan in confusion. I just saw Wan Changdong talking to someone from the Lu mansion. Ah, how did you see it? Dan Fangcheng asked in surprise. This is impossible. Let me ask you, Lu Beixian, do you know this person? Of course I know him. He's the lord of the Lu mansion in Lincheng. Dan Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan in surprise. When did you know that? Just now, Wan Changdong met Lu Beixian. They met, and then what did they talk about? And how did you know that? Dan Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan curiously. He didn't understand in his heart that Lu Chuan had a trick that he had never seen before, and he could even monitor the people in the meeting hall. Lu Chuan continued. They talked about Zhao Hehu. Zhao Hehu is definitely Wan Changdong's man. He just lied to us. Lu Beixian promised to help Wan Changdong break through to the Martial Saint realm, but the condition is that after the breakthrough, Wan Changdong needs to immediately bring the city guards to encircle the Danfang family and me. To help Wan Changdong break through to the Martial Saint realm, we need to gather 100 children. As for how to do it, it is not known for the time being. Now the situation is very clear. The Lu mansion has indeed joined forces with the city lord's forces. However, they cannot take action now. They have to wait until the conditions are met one by one and Wan Changdong has enough strength before they will take action against us. Dan Fangcheng was confused and a little confused. He scratched his head and asked, then what about us? What should we do? If we are to do this, we have to stop them from achieving their goals, and we also have to find out what kind of means Lu Beixian will use to help Wan Changdong break through to the Martial Saint realm. Okay, then what should we do specifically? Let's talk about it when we get back. It's late today. The two returned to the Danfang mansion along the street. Dan Fangcheng thought that this visit to the city lord's mansion would be in vain, but he didn't expect that Lu Chuan could find out so much information. It seems that this trip was not in vain. At least Wan Changdong's thoughts were figured out. At present, the forces of the city lord's side are not on the side of the Danfang family. Under the current circumstances, the Danfang family can be said to be in crisis. Soon, the two returned to the Danfang mansion. The housekeeper came to the two and looked at them with a smile. The young master is back. The distinguished guests have been arranged by us in the guest room with a lotus pond. The environment there is beautiful and the decoration is exquisite. Take us there. Okay, young master. The housekeeper led the way in front, and Dan Fangcheng and Lu Chuan followed closely. Soon, the two passed through a round stone gate and came to a courtyard. At the door of the house, there is a lotus pond, and a small bridge spans the pond. Crossing the small bridge, you can see the door of the mansion. Guzayao and Guzayana are chatting in front of the door. Following the footsteps of the housekeeper, Lu Chuan came to the door of the mansion and sat at the stone table. Mr. Lu, what are you going to do next? Dan Fangcheng asked as he sat aside. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 765 Plan. In front of the stone table, Dan Fangcheng waved to the housekeeper. You can go first. Okay, young master, please tell me if you have anything to say. After the housekeeper turned and walked away, Dan Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan and asked, Mr. Lu, what exactly are you going to do? Tell me, I will help as much as possible. At this time, Guzayao and Guzayana also came over. Young master Dongfang, your Dongfang family's mansion in Lincheng is really nice. The environment is so beautiful. Guzayana walked to his side and patted his shoulder. As long as you live comfortably, you are my best friends, so I must give you the best treatment. Guzayana said with a smile. By the way, do you know Danfang Lan? Dan Fangcheng frowned slightly. Have you seen her? Yes, she is a very nice person. She brought me delicious food. Dan Fangcheng nodded slightly. She is my sister. I haven't seen her for many years. Your sister, is she your biological sister? Dan Fangcheng continued to nod. Yes, she is my biological sister. She has basically lived in Lincheng all the time. I don't get along with her. Why? Aren't brothers and sisters supposed to be very close? She. Dan Fangcheng hesitated, as if he didn't know what to say. Just say it directly. What can't you say? Lu Chuan asked. She and I have a big conflict on some concepts. Lu Chuan frowned slightly. What concepts? In terms of the family situation, she has always believed that we should make peace with the Lu family, not fight, and even recommended to my father that we should give a big gift to let the two families reconcile. Isn't this nonsense? How can the Lu family reconcile with us? We are a life and death feud. How can we reconcile? She just stayed in Lincheng for too long, and her life is comfortable. She doesn't know that the world is dangerous and people's hearts are not the same as before. There is no way I can't persuade her. Dan Fangcheng shrugged helplessly. He has been running around outside for many years and has seen all kinds of people and things, and also understood the dangers of human hearts, so he knows very well that Dan Fanglian's ideas are too idealistic. I see. No wonder you don't have a deep relationship with her. To say that we don't have a deep relationship, that's not the case. When I lived in Lincheng, I often played with her. But the older we get, the more different our concepts are, so naturally we can't play together. Dan Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan and said sincerely, we are the same kind of people. We both have a life and death hatred with the Lu family, so we can get along. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's not mention her. I feel uncomfortable when I mention her. Mr. Lu, how to deal with Wan Changdong is a thorny issue. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. I've been thinking about it too. Their forces outside the city have been destroyed. In a short period of time, he should not be able to find a second Zhao Hehu. Now that I'm in Lincheng in person, Wan Changdong and Liu Beixian must be under pressure. Maybe they will start to act early tomorrow morning, directly in the city. In this way, you should spread out more spies tomorrow and observe the situation in the city more. That's fine, but if Wan Changdong really breaks through to the Martial Saint realm, he will attack us. What should we do then? Don't worry, it won't come that fast. Their arrest and Wan Changdong's breakthrough should be related to each other. So, as long as we stop them from taking people away, we can stop Wan Changdong from breaking through to the Martial Saint realm. Dan Fangcheng slammed the table and exclaimed, Mr. Lu, you're right. Let's do it according to your analysis. I'll have someone go out to investigate tomorrow and notify you as soon as there's news. Lu Chuan nodded slightly, then looked at Gu Xiaorao. How do you feel about living here? No problem. The decoration inside is very warm and comfortable, much better than the place I lived before. Gu Xiaorao said with a smile. By the way, Li Zuning is waiting for you in the house. Why don't you go see him? Gu Xiaorao asked. Let him come out. Gu Xiaosang nodded quickly and ran towards the house. Soon, she ran out, and Li Zuning followed closely behind her. Mr. Lu, I've been waiting for a long time. Li Zuning, starting from tomorrow, you will monitor the city Lord Wan Changdong and Liu Beixian of the Lu Mansion. If they have any movements, report to me immediately. With your strength, you shouldn't be exposed, right? Li Zuning nodded repeatedly. Mister, please rest assured, I will definitely complete the task you assigned. Okay, you go to rest tonight, and we will start tomorrow. Yes, sir. Then, Li Zuning retreated and disappeared into the darkness. Master Dan Fang, see you tomorrow morning. Dan Fangcheng stood up and walked towards the gate of the courtyard. Then see you tomorrow morning. After Dan Fangcheng left, Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang sat next to him, and both looked at Lu Chuan curiously. What's the situation now? Lu Chuan sighed and said, the city Lord Wan Changdong, eager to seek a breakthrough, has already defected to the Lu family, and is completely in the same group with the Lu family. Ah. Has he defected so thoroughly? Even in Wangxing City, the city lord dare not arbitrarily lean towards any side. There is no way. The temptation of the Martial Saint realm is too great for a warrior. Gu Xiaorao frowned slightly. The Lu Mansion is actually able to help him break through to the Martial Saint realm. This method is not ordinary. So, be prepared. We have to face the combined forces of the city lord and the Lu family. This is a bit difficult. We just arrived in Lincheng and are facing this difficulty. It seems that we have to be cautious next time. Gu Xiaorao nodded slightly. You haven't had dinner yet. I'll go heat up the food. She stood up and walked towards the kitchen. Gu Xiaosang followed closely behind and walked over. At this moment, a figure crossed the small bridge and slowly walked towards Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan turned his head and saw a woman in a green dress walking towards him. She had a standard oval face and was pretty. With the finest rouge, she looked quite pretty. She walked towards Lu Chuan with elegant short steps. Are you Lu Chuan? She looked at Lu Chuan and asked curiously. Do you have something to talk to me about? I was originally looking for Gu Xiaorao. Since you are here, I do have something to say to you. Tell me your name first. My name is Dongfang Lion. I heard Gu Xiaorao mention you. What do you want to talk to me about? She took a deep breath and said, don't fight with the Lu family anymore. If you continue to fight, there will be no results. Why not lay down your weapons and turn enemies into friends? Why fight and kill and sacrifice innocent people? She looked at Lu Chuan and asked, isn't it? Speak to Dongfang Cheng about this. Don't tell me. Lu Chuan smiled helplessly. Chapter 766. Conflicts within the palace. Lu Chuan stood up, not intending to continue talking to Dongfang Lion. After he stood up, he walked towards the gate of the house. Dongfang Lion looked at Lu Chuan's back and said, there will be absolutely no result if we continue to fight. The end result will only be a lose-lose situation. Lu Chuan looked back at her and said helplessly, please go back. I have nothing to say to you. Dongfang Cheng is unwilling to pay attention to you now. His decision is right. Lu Chuan walked into the room. Seeing this, Dongfang Lion sighed in disappointment and turned away. After returning to the room, Lu Chuan had dinner and went to rest directly. Late at night, as night fell, the prosperous Lincheng gradually became deserted. There was no one on the street, only a few lanterns emitting faint light. On the street, you can occasionally see a few black shadows moving quickly. As for who they are, no one knows for the time being. The next morning, Lu Chuan got up early and went out to eat breakfast. When he came to the yard, Dongfang Cheng had been standing here waiting for a long time. He looked at Lu Chuan and smiled faintly. Mr. Lu, go have breakfast. We were in a hurry last night and didn't prepare any feast for you. I'm sorry for the poor hospitality. Please bear with me. Just a simple meal. There's no need to prepare a feast. We're all acquaintances. Lu Chuan smiled and walked over. Then, Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang came over. Gu Xiaosang ran over excitedly and asked, feast? What feast? Where is the feast? Let's go to the dining room. There's a sumptuous breakfast prepared there. It's all delicious. You'll definitely be satisfied. Gu Xiaosang's eyes lit up immediately. Really? Great. Let's go now. Then, several people came to the dining room together. After pushing the door and walking in, they saw many servants carrying various meals and placing them on the table. The huge round table can accommodate 20 or 30 people at the same time. The table full of delicacies made Gu Xiaosang's eyes light up. Gu Xiaorao said somewhat awkwardly, you ate so much this morning, you can't finish it, right? It doesn't matter, just eat whatever you want. The main thing is to enjoy the local delicacies. It doesn't matter if you can't finish it. Dongfang Cheng pulled out the chairs, and Lu Chuan and the other two took their seats one by one. Dongfang Changxi, who was sitting in the main seat, looked at Lu Chuan and the other two with a smile on his face. Mr. Lu is our honored guest of the Dongfang mansion. We must show the highest etiquette to entertain him. All the core members of the Dongfang mansion are here one by one today. Let's all take this opportunity to get to know each other. Lu Chuan smiled and nodded slightly. No problem. We will be friends in the future, and we will fight side by side to deal with the Lu family, so we need to get to know each other well. At this time, Dongfang Lion walked in and found a seat to sit down. She looked at Dongfang Cheng and asked, brother, what are you going to do when you come back this time? Dongfang Cheng was a little surprised that Dongfang Lion would actually take the initiative to talk to him. What I'm going to do when I come back, it has nothing to do with you, right? How can it have nothing to do with you? I'm your biological sister. Don't I have the right to know this? She stared at Dongfang Cheng with her eyes fixed. Dongfang Cheng smiled helplessly. It doesn't matter. Why not tell you? We are here this time to teach the Lu family a lesson. By the way, the mayor of Lincheng is not very honest either. We will take action against him depending on the situation, he said in a calm tone. Although this was not his idea, nor was it something he could do with his strength, his words carried more weight than Lu Chuan's in the Dongfang mansion. When everyone heard what Dong Fangcheng said, they were all stunned. Dong Fangcheng's words made them all feel incredible, and some even thought that Dong Fangcheng was going crazy. Dong Fangcheng, what did you just say? Did I hear you right? The city lord of Lincheng is not honest? You still want to attack him? You are so brave. Dong Fangcheng, I'm not saying anything bad about you. You have been out there for so long. Have you even forgotten the structure of Lincheng? You must know what kind of strength and status the city lord of Lincheng, Wan Changdang, has, right? He has dozens of martial emperor level warriors under his command. We can't afford to mess with such a strong army. If we want to destroy the city lord of Lincheng, we have to invite all the core forces of the Dongfang family over. Otherwise, how can we be his opponents with these people here? Dong Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan. His face became solemn. I know that Dong Fangcheng doesn't have the ability, but he still dares to say this. Obviously, he has the confidence in you. You gave him the confidence to say this. Then, what ability do you have to think that you can fight against the city guards? The power of Lincheng is not as strong as that of Wanxing City. There are many powerful clan forces here. It is difficult to accomplish it with your personal strength. Then, Dong Fanglian also said, Uncle is right. We can't make any more enemies. Our confrontation with the Lu family has reached a white-hot stage, and we are just one step away from a full-scale fight. You can't be sure when we will receive an order from the headquarters to let us fight the Lu mansion thoroughly. At this critical juncture, what we have to do is to preserve our strength, not be too arrogant, and not make enemies everywhere. Obviously, this friend named Lu Chuan is a fearless person. He seems to be not afraid of anything, and will not worry about anything. After all, he is alone, and is not afraid of being targeted by those forces. But we are different. You can run away from the monk, but you can't run away from the temple. We can't make enemies at will. Dong Fanglian's words made everyone nod their heads, and they all felt that it made sense. Lu Chuan sighed helplessly. I came here to have breakfast, not to quarrel with you. We are not quarreling with you either. We are discussing and weighing the pros and cons. There is only one thing we need to do now, and that is to conserve our energy. Dong Fanglian said firmly. Lu Chuan shrugged helplessly. Dong Fangcheng, didn't you tell them about the situation? Dong Fangcheng nodded slightly. I definitely wouldn't tell them without your permission. After all, this is the information you discovered. Then tell me now. Dong Fangcheng took a deep breath. No problem. In that case, I'll tell you. Dong Fangcheng, you are my uncle. When I lived here as a child, you were very kind to me. I remember it all in my heart. I will never do anything to harm the interests of the Dongfang family, so everyone must believe what I say. First of all, the city lord Wan Changdang has completely united with the Lu mansion. They have begun to make plans secretly, and are ready to strangle us at any time. The Lu mansion has a method that can help Wan Changdang break through to the martial saint realm. Because of this, they have facilitated their alliance. Now, our Dongfang family is already in danger, and may be destroyed at any time. Chapter 767, Endless Argument. Dong Fangcheng's words made everyone in the audience fall into deep thought. Dong Fangcheng looked at Dong Fangcheng and asked in a deep voice, Dong Fangcheng, are you serious about what you said? His face became heavy. He knew what this meant. If the Lu family and the city lord joined forces, then it can be said that they are completely invincible in this Lincheng. No force in Lincheng can be the opponent of the two families united. Dong Fangcheng nodded slightly. Everything I said is true. You can rest assured. Then what should we do? How to deal with it? If they really unite together, no matter how we fight, we are no match. Dong Fangcheng scratched his head and felt embarrassed. Don't worry about this matter. I will try my best to deal with it. Lu Chuan said calmly. Everyone looked at Lu Chuan. How should we deal with this? Aren't you too arrogant? You alone. How should we deal with it? Do you have the strength to do so? In the end, we still have to rely on the strength of our Dongfang family to deal with the enemy together. The power of one person is limited after all. If not, let's go and talk to the city lord directly. If that doesn't work, we can just give him a big gift to show our appreciation. Come on, what kind of gift can you give that can compare to breaking through the Martial Saint realm? Once the city lord breaks through the Martial Saint realm, he will get whatever he wants. Why does he need us to give him gifts? There is no solution. If the Lu family really helps him break through to the Martial Saint realm, he will definitely help the Lu family fight us. The key is how to stop their cooperation. Everyone felt embarrassed and all looked worried. Lu Chuan picked up the chopsticks and began to eat a mouthful of food. He felt that it would be a waste of words to continue arguing here. It would be better to eat a few more mouthfuls of rice and then listen to Li Zuning's report. Lu Chuan looked at Dong Fangcheng and said, "What I was worried about has happened. When the family is too large, there will be many and mixed voices inside. Not everyone will stand on your side. There will even be people standing against you. These are all problems we have to face." Dong Fangcheng knew what Lu Chuan meant and nodded helplessly. "No problem. What you said is indeed the case, but I have no choice but to try my best. So, you should realize that I will not cooperate with the Dongfang family very deeply, or even to the point of being bound. My partner is now you." Dong Fangcheng took a deep breath and nodded slightly. "I know. I will do my best to use the resources and power of the Dongfang family to help you." Lu Chuan nodded slightly and continued to eat. Seeing this, the rest of the people looked at Lu Chuan with extraordinary eyes. "Dong Fangcheng, you are the son of the patriarch. Do you have to put on such an attitude in front of an outsider? You are almost his follower." Dong Fangcheng looked at the man who was speaking and said coldly, "I, Dong Fangcheng, am also a talented young man, a child of destiny, but when I really met the people with top talents in this world, I realized that the potential I have is insignificant. Knowing Lu Chuan is the node that changed my life. He helped me a lot. It is only right for me to help him. If it weren't for him, the Dongfang mansion would have been destroyed in Wangxing City." Everyone looked at each other, all feeling unconvinced. "What happened in Wangxing City? Tell us." Dong Fangcheng looked at Dong Fangcheng and continued to ask, "I heard that Lu Wu went to Wangxing City. Is this true or false?" "Lu Wu? Of course he went, but he died. He was destroyed along with the Lu mansion. They all died." Everyone looked at each other again, showing confusion. They were a little surprised that Lu Wu could die. Lu Wu is actually dead. Dong Fangcheng widened his eyes and asked in disbelief. "Yes, the news of his death should have spread here, right? We all thought it was a rumor. It was fake. Lu Wu died at the hands of Lu Chuan. It was Lu Chuan who killed Lu Wu and saved the Dongfang mansion." When Dong Fangcheng said this, the whole city was in an uproar. Dong Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan and asked, "Did you kill Lu Wu?" Lu Wu is a strong man in the Martial Saint realm. Although he has just broken through, he is a little worse in all aspects, but he is in the Martial Saint realm after all, and he is not someone who can easily mess with the Martial Emperor realm. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "Yes, I killed Lu Wu. You can also think that I'm now a strong man in the Martial Saint realm. I know. No wonder you are so confident." At this time, Dong Fanglian interrupted and said, "What's the use of his courage alone? If we go to war with the city lord, it will not be a war of one person, but a melee of three forces. It cannot be solved casually." Dong Fanglian spoke without giving Lu Chuan any face. After all, she is the daughter of the head of the Dongfang family. Her status is extremely high in the entire Dongfang family. Even Dong Fangcheng dare not provoke her casually. "I'm done eating, so I'll leave first." After speaking, Lu Chuan got up and left. Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang followed closely behind. Although Gu Xiaosang was reluctant to leave the table of delicious food, she could see that the atmosphere here was not right, so she followed Lu Chuan and left. Dong Fangcheng sighed helplessly. "Dong Fanglian, you feel uncomfortable without talking nonsense, right? Dong Fangcheng, why do you always go against me? Is it me against you? Or are you against the entire Dongfang mansion?" "Bullshit, I disagree. Does that count as going against me?" Dong Fangcheng sighed, as if he had nothing to say. "I have nothing to say to you, Uncle Changxi. Let's not talk about anything else. I always stand on Lu Chuan's side. He and the Lu family are mortal enemies. I will help him to avenge the Lu family." Hey, you are from the Dongfang family. It's not good to get too close to a person with the surname Lu, right? Dongfang Changxi said with some concerns. You don't have to worry about this. I know my limits. I hope you will speak politely in the future. If anyone goes against him, it means he is against me. After saying this, Dongfang Cheng looked at Dongfang Lion, and it was obvious that this was directed at her. After leaving the dining room, Lu Chuan came to the outside yard and walked quickly on the way back. Lu Chuan, did we fail to reach an agreement with the Dongfang family this time? Gu Xiaorao asked with some concerns. Not really, there are just some minor conflicts. It can be seen that the Dongfang family has a huge influence in Lincheng. I'm afraid there are several thousand people here. Among them, some people have other ideas, which is also normal. We don't need their support. It's enough to have Dongfang Cheng here. I will continue to do what I should do. After Lu Chuan finished speaking, Gu Xiaorao nodded slightly. I understand. It seems that this time, the Dongfang family is not completely on our side. Chapter 768, Night Robber. Gu Xiaorao sighed helplessly. If it were in Wangxing City, Dongfang Cheng would have an absolute position, and the people of the Dongfang family would listen to us and support us. Here, just Dongfang Lion would challenge him, and would not obey him at all. Lu Chuan shrugged helplessly. No way, don't worry about those things. Go back and continue to practice or rest. Okay. The three of them returned to the yard, and Lu Chuan happened to see Li Zunying. After he saw Lu Chuan, he walked over quickly. Li Zunying, did you find anything? Mr. Lu, many people took advantage of the night to act secretly last night. Their whereabouts were very secretive, and they acted carefully. I didn't dare to follow too closely. Lu Chuan patted him on the shoulder and said, well done. Now tell me, are there any other situations? I don't know what those people did after sneaking into the yards of each family. However, in the middle of the night, there was a scream in a family, which woke up everyone in the yard. They seemed to be shouting that someone was missing. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Did you see what this group of people looked like when they went back? It was too dark. I could only see an outline. They were carrying sacks and running towards the inner city. After Lu Chuan pondered for a moment, he said, it seems that Wan Changdong is very anxious. He started to act so quickly. Is he afraid of me? There was actually a family that found someone breaking into it and kidnapping someone that night. It seems that this matter should have spread. I guess so. There are quite a few people in the city talking about this matter now. Many people don't dare to let their children play outside, and they are locked up at home. Lu Chuan patted Li Zunying on the shoulder and said, good, you continue to observe the situation. Observe the situation in the inner city. If they have a convoy traveling, come and notify me. Are you afraid that they will transport people out? Yes, it's not easy for them to do it in the inner city. They must find a secluded environment outside. I know, I'll do it right away. Lu Chuan stopped him and asked, is there any power of the Nangang family in the city? Li Zunying turned around and looked at Lu Chuan. Yes, but it's not on a large scale. They do purchasing business here and don't run other businesses. Lu Chuan waved to him. Let's go. If you meet someone from the Nangang family, I will help you find out about this matter. Li Zunying nodded and clasped his fists, then turned around and left the yard. This Wan Changdong is quite fast. What are you going to do? If you want to stop that guy from breaking through, you need to rescue him. Lu Chuan shrugged. It depends on the situation. We'll do it when we have the chance. At the same time, a carriage drove in from the direction of the inner city gate and stopped on the side. A middle-aged man in a green dress got off the carriage. He walked quickly towards the door. Gentlemen, please inform the city lord and tell him that I, Zuzeha, am waiting for him outside. I have a major case to report, and I hope the city lord can see me. The guard waved his hand and said, go away, don't bother me. The city lord will not see anyone today. He is busy today. Why? I just gave him a big gift before. When we were recruiting soldiers before, our Zhu family also sent out 100 men. I, Zuzeha, have always supported the city lord's cause. You go and talk to him, and he will definitely see me. What do you want to see him for? It's like this. My daughter is missing. She is less than 10 years old, and my whole family is anxious as ants on the hot pot. Please go into the inner city and tell the city lord for me, and he will definitely come out to see me. Get out. The city lord is very busy today and has no time to see anyone. Do I need me to say it a second time? Zuzuha stood there in a daze, at a loss for a moment. Then, I'll come back another day. Another day? Don't bother our city lord in the next month. Zuzuha took a deep breath and shook his head helplessly. At the critical moment, you can only rely on yourself. Upon hearing this, the guard immediately raised the spear in his hand, pointed it at Zuzuha, and shouted, "What did you say?" Zuzuha quickly put his hands on his head. "I didn't say anything. What you just said means that our city lord is unreliable? Is that right? Unfair. I don't mean that at all. Bullshit. You think I can't hear it, right? You old man. Dare to complain to our city lord. You don't want to live, right? Aren't we the ones who have been protecting this huge lynching? If it weren't for our city lord, would you deserve to enjoy peace?" The guard shouted with gritted teeth. Zuzuha half knelt down and swallowed nervously. "You misunderstood. I just slipped my tongue. I definitely didn't mean that. Get out of here. Don't disturb our city lord's peace again." When Zuzuha heard this, he felt like he had grabbed a life-saving straw. He quickly stood up and ran towards the carriage. After getting on the carriage, he breathed a sigh of relief with lingering fear. "Master, why is this happening? How dare a mere city gate guard be so arrogant? There's no way. The city lord must have instructed him not to let anyone in. Then what should we do? Who else can help us find our daughter?" The beautiful woman sitting next to Zuzuha asked tearfully. Go to Danfang Mansion and talk to them about this matter and see if there is any situation." "Danfang family? What can we do with them? They won't help us either. Who do you think will help? The Lu family? Or the city lord? Then, let's try our luck." The carriage turned around and headed towards the Danfang Mansion. Soon, the carriage stopped at the gate of Danfang Mansion. Zuzuha got out of the car quickly, swept away the previous haze, and showed a bright smile on his face. He walked quickly forward and came to the guard at the gate of Danfang Mansion. "I'm here to see the master of Danfang Mansion. Is he free now? I'll go in and ask. Since you are the head of the Zhu family, I believe our master of Danfang Mansion will see you." Then, the guard walked in. Zuzuha breathed a sigh of relief and stood at the door waiting anxiously. After a while, Danfang Changxi came out and came to Zuzuha. "Zuzuha, long time no see. You haven't come to me to reminisce for a long time. Why did you think of me today?" "Brother Changxi, please don't blame me. I've been too busy recently. I came to you to ask for something. Tell me, I'll do my best to help. It's like this. Last night, my daughter was kidnapped by a man in black. We sent people out to look for her, but they couldn't find her anywhere. We had no choice but to ask the city lord for help. After all, he is in charge of the city's public security. But the gates of the inner city are closed, and the city lord doesn't see anyone. I came here with no choice. I hope the Danfang family can help me and find my precious daughter." Hearing this, Danfang Changxi fell into deep thought. Chapter 769. Following closely, Zuzuha stood at the gate of Danfang Mansion, looking at Danfang Changxi expectantly, hoping that he could help him. Otherwise, his daughter would never be found again. Danfang Changxi seemed a little embarrassed. "I can help you with this, but whether I can find her or not depends on luck." "Okay, as long as you say this, I hope you can tell the servants in the mansion that, if you see my daughter, you must inform me." Danfang Changxi nodded slightly. "No problem, you go back, I will tell you when there is news." Just when Zuzuha turned around and was about to leave, Lu Chuan came out. "Don't go yet, wait a minute." Lu Chuan stopped him and walked towards him. Zuzuha looked back at Lu Chuan and immediately showed a puzzled look. "Who are you?" He saw that Lu Chuan was very strange, and he didn't know Lu Chuan at all, which made him frown. Lu Chuan walked up to him and asked, "Your daughter disappeared last night, right?" "Yes, it was last night." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. This just matched Li Zuning's information. Obviously, the person was taken away by the city lord's people. If Zuzuha only asked Danfang Changxi for help, he would never see his daughter again in his life. Lu Chuan looked at him and continued to ask, "You went to visit the city lord, but was turned away, right?" "Yes, that's right. The city lord didn't even give me a chance to see me. He directly asked the guards to drive me away," Zuzahua said very aggrievedly. Then, he looked at Lu Chuan curiously again. "Wait, who are you? I don't know you. Is he from your Dongfang family? Why have I never seen him before?" Dongfang Changzi glanced at Lu Chuan and then said, "He is not from the Dongfang family, but he is our distinguished guest and a close friend of Dongfang Cheng. He knows a lot of things, and you can talk to him. Forget it. If your Dongfang family can't find my daughter, then I'm afraid no one from other forces in this city can find her. I know very well the power of the Lu family and the Dongfang family in Lincheng. I believe in you, Lord Dongfang. As for this distinguished guest, he has just arrived and knows very little about Lincheng, so forget it. Since you have got your promise, Lord, I will go back first. If there is any news, please inform me immediately. I will be very grateful." He bowed deeply to Dongfang Changzi, then turned around and was about to leave. Lu Chuan then asked, "What's your daughter's name?" "My daughter? You ask that? Her name is Zhu Yingchen. She's only 13 or 14 years old, very young and immature. I hope she can come back alive to me." He sighed helplessly and then got on the carriage. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "Zhu Yingchen. Do you know her?" "No." Lu Chuan shook his head. Dongfang Changzi then said, "Then make it seem like it's real. Go back. Such a big city like Lincheng lost a person. You can't just look for him. Let it go. Anyway, it's not that we are short of people in Dongfang Mansion. Why bother so much?" He then walked into Dongfang Mansion casually, put his hands behind his back, and walked into the mansion leisurely. Lu Chuan hesitated for a moment at the door, and then turned back to the mansion. Obviously, the city lord's people carried out a large-scale operation last night. It must be not just the Zhu family who were abducted, but more people were taken away. I don't know if the city lord has gathered enough people. Lu Chuan frowned and thought, and walked quickly into the yard. Then he thought that, if the city lord wanted to complete his plan without any mistakes, he must send these people out first. He should not dare to act in such a crowded environment in the city. In this case, it is even more necessary to monitor the location of the gate. Then, Lu Chuan found Dongfang Cheng. "Dongfang Cheng, I have something to find you." Dongfang Cheng was still sitting in the study, tirelessly flipping through an ancient book, which recorded the development history of Kunlun domain, and he read it with relish. "Mr. Lu, is there any situation?" "Of course there is. Many people disappeared in the city. They were all taken away by the city lord's people." "I know, but we have no evidence. We can't just break into the city lord's mansion, right? I think they will transport people out of the city in batches and find a place where there are no people to act. This city lord dare not do this kind of thing openly in the city for the time being," Lu Chuan said seriously. Dongfang Cheng looked up at Lu Chuan. He put down the ancient book in his hand and continued to ask, "Then why are you looking for me?" "Arrange the people of Dongfang Mansion at the city gate to check every move in the city. If there is a carriage from the inner city heading out of the city, notify me of the result." "Okay, no problem. This is a piece of cake. Leave it to me. I will complete it." Dongfang Cheng stood up and promised confidently. Then he walked out of the study and began to mobilize the servants. Lu Chuan also returned to his yard and began to wait for news. In the evening, a figure suddenly appeared on the wall of the yard. Lu Chuan sat in the yard and looked in the direction of the figure. Under the projection of the setting sun, his figure looked particularly strange. "Li Zunying, is there any news?" "Mr. Lu, there is news." A group of carriages came out from the inner city and headed towards the south of the city. "How many carriages are there in total?" 5 carriages, but they are all large carriages that can carry a lot of people. However, they are tightly sealed, and you can't see what's going on inside. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "Okay, I get it. South of the city, right? You continue to help me collect information about the city, and I'll take care of the rest." Lu Chuan stood up and walked out of the yard. The next moment, Li Zunying disappeared, and there was no trace of him. Soon, Lu Chuan found Dongfang Cheng. At this time, Dongfang Cheng also hurried to find Lu Chuan. "Mr. Lu, something has happened. In the south of the city, we saw the city lord's convoy rushing out. No one knows what they are transporting. Lu Chuan nodded slightly and then continued, I already know. I'm ready to go now. Okay, do you need help? I can be your assistant. Not for now, just leave it to me. If you go with me, it's easy to expose your position. After Lu Chuan finished speaking, he hurriedly walked towards the gate of Dongfang Mansion. Dongfang Changxi saw Lu Chuan's figure and hurriedly followed him. When he came to Lu Chuan, he asked curiously, Mr. Lu, it's so late. What are you going to do outside? Lu Chuan casually said, you have no right to interfere with my affairs. I have something to do outside. Let's talk about it when I come back. After speaking, Lu Chuan walked out of Dongfang Mansion directly, came to the street, and rushed towards the south of the city. Dongfang Changxi looked at Lu Chuan's back and sighed helplessly. Chapter 770 City Lord's Escort Convoy. On the main road in the south of the city, 5 carriages moved forward one after another, heading towards the city gate. The carriages were large and required 4 horses to provide power. Lu Chuan got a horse at the gate of Dongfang Mansion and drove over, slowly walking along the road. Soon, he saw the trace of the convoy. He followed closely behind. After a while, he accelerated to the city gate and took the lead in leaving the city. Under an old tree next to the city gate, Lu Chuan got off the horse and tied the horse aside. Then, he began to observe the direction of the city gate. He found a piece of grass and sat cross-legged. There were not many people nearby, so Lu Chuan directly separated his soul from his body, floated in the air, and flew towards the city. Floating in the air, Lu Chuan looked down at the traces of the convoy. Then, he rushed down quickly and got into the first carriage. Swish! The light in front of him dimmed instantly, and Lu Chuan penetrated the wooden board and went directly into the carriage. Then, he saw the situation inside the car. Inside the carriage, there were 12 soldiers in armor, all of them tightly grasping their weapons, ready to fight at any time. Seeing this, Lu Chuan suddenly felt strange. This carriage was actually used to transport soldiers. And judging from the posture, these soldiers were elite soldiers, not ordinary soldiers. Could it be that the city lord Wan Changdong had already noticed something and made preparations first? Was this just a trick, waiting for him to take action? Lu Chuan left the first carriage and came to the second one. The situation inside was not much different from the first carriage. However, Lu Chuan happened to hear the conversation between 2 of the soldiers. Does our escort mission need to go to so much trouble this time? Who knows? We don't know what we are escorting. Is it gold? It's really possible. Maybe the carriage behind is full of gold. The reward for this mission is generous. Since we are out on a mission, let's do our best. By the way, when I got on the carriage, I could vaguely hear a burst of crying from the carriage behind. It was quite strange. Could there be criminals in it? It's not impossible, but we can't see the situation inside, so it's useless to guess now. Don't worry about this. Think more about how to be cool after getting the reward. That's right, this is what we should really think about. This mission is simply too simple. Is there really anyone in Lincheng who dares to rob our car now? That's right. Even the people from Dongfang Mansion wouldn't dare to attack our convoy, right? Nonsense. Even if the people from Dongfang Mansion have 10,000 guts, they wouldn't dare to move. I don't know why the city lord sent so many elite soldiers to escort. It's such a waste. It's a waste. It's better to be safe than sorry. The people in the car were chatting leisurely. In their eyes, this escort mission was as simple as it could be. From a long time ago, all the forces in and around Lincheng City did not dare to attack the city lord's forces. In the past few years, no one dared to rob the treasures that the city guards wanted to escort, no matter how valuable they were. This also made them feel at ease, thinking that this escort mission was still completed smoothly and they could get the money easily. After listening to their conversation, Lu Chuan continued to look into the next carriage. When Lu Chuan's soul poured into the carriage, he immediately saw that the cabin was full of people, quite crowded, almost close to 20 people. Lu Chuan's face suddenly became solemn. Most of these people were no more than 10 years old, and only a few slightly older children could be vaguely seen. Lu Chuan became serious. This time the transport convoy was not a bait or a trap. They just wanted to transport people out. The city lord obviously guessed that someone might rob it, so he specially increased the manpower. This convoy only transported 20 people out of the city. I'm afraid it would take 5 consecutive convoys to transport all the people out. Seeing this, Lu Chuan looked at the 2 carriages behind. The 2 carriages behind were also filled with elite soldiers. This convoy was a carriage with 4 carriages transporting 1 person. Lu Chuan's soul returned to his body outside the city. Lu Chuan stood up from the grass and glanced around. No one had come to disturb him just now. He rode his horse again, ready to follow the convoy for a distance, and then wait for an opportunity to take action. He stood under the tree on horseback, looking in the direction of the city gate. Gradually, the convoy drove out, and rushed along the road into the deep mountains and old forests. Lu Chuan rode his horse, and followed closely behind. It was getting darker, the light around dimmed, and torches were hung on the carriages. Lu Chuan followed closely behind and soon caught up. They were far away from Lincheng, and there were almost no extra passers-by around. It was best to choose this time to take action. If he continued to follow, there would be only the 2 of them on the road, and he would be easily noticed by the other party. Lu Chuan rode his horse quickly to catch up, and came directly to the head of the caravan. Lu Chuan pulled the reins, turned the horse around, and stood facing the caravan. Seeing this, the driver hurriedly pulled the reins, and stopped the carriage. "Who are you? Why are you blocking our way? You know, this is a caravan sent by the city lord himself. If you dare to stop the city lord's caravan, you are against the city lord." Lu Chuan looked at the driver and said, "Let everyone in the carriage get off. No one will be left alive. Who do you think you are? Why do you give us orders? I think you are tired of living." The driver shouted arrogantly. The next moment, Lu Chuan raised his left hand, condensed the sun god fire in his palm, and casually swung his hand, throwing the flame towards the driver. Swish! The flame quickly fell on the driver's body, and instantly ignited a raging fire. Ah! The driver screamed, and fell off the carriage, rolling on the ground. The screams were extremely harsh, and echoed in the valley. After hearing the screams, the escort soldiers in the carriage got off one after another, holding their weapons, and walking towards Lu Chuan. One of them stepped forward, and took out the long sword in his hand, and pointed it at Lu Chuan. "Who are you? How dare you stop our car? I think you are looking for death. We are the escort team under the command of the city lord. I'm the captain Yu Xianshu. If you dare to provoke us, you are looking for death. In the whole Lincheng, no one dares to attack us. You are really bold." The man named Yu Xianshu pointed his sword at Lu Chuan, and his momentum was very arrogant. Lu Chuan stared at him and asked, "What is transported on the 3rd carriage? Do you dare to tell me?" The other soldiers whispered to each other, and were also curious. In the entire escort team, only the captain knew what was transported in the only carriage in the middle. Chapter 771. Team destroyed. Lu Chuan's question made the captain bow his head and fall into deep thought, without answering for a moment. The answer is very simple. You don't need to think so long. You just don't dare to say it. Bullshit. Who are you? Why should I answer your question? Are you qualified to ask me a question? I'm the escort team personally sent by the city lord. If you dare to provoke me, you are dead. Brothers, all pick up your weapons and get ready to kill this bastard. He shouted loudly, and the soldiers raised their weapons one after another, excited and eager to fight. For them, they have been doing boring training every day, and have not had actual combat for a long time. And Lu Chuan is alone, and a group of them are like hungry tigers pouncing on food, which can vent their addiction. Lu Chuan looked at the people in front of him. Although the team of less than 50 people is well equipped, in terms of strength, it is absolutely impossible for them to be his opponent. You'd better come together, not one by one. It's not only a waste of time, but also more likely to cause deserters. Lu Chuan said disapprovingly, not taking the group of soldiers seriously at all. At this moment, Yu Xianshu stood up, holding a long sword, pointing at Lu Chuan, and asked coldly, "Boy, you are pretending, right? In that case, then fight with me. Let me see what strength you have. Dare you be so bold, stand in front of me, and shout like that. Today, even if Dan Fangchangzi came in front of me, he would have to give me some face. Who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me like that?" He was furious. He had always been respected in the city, and when had he ever been humiliated like this? Naturally, he was furious and wanted to duel with Lu Chuan and teach him a lesson. Lu Chuan dismounted, stood in front of him, and continued to provoke. I can kill you with one move, but I'm worried that, if I kill you, I'll only scare these bastards away, which would be too troublesome. I want to catch them one by one in this dark old forest, and kill them all, but it's very troublesome. Yu Xianshu's mouth twitched, and then without saying a word, he swung his long sword, and chopped down at Lu Chuan. I asked you to shout at me, where did you get the guts to do that? He shouted angrily, obviously angered by Lu Chuan's words. Swish. Lu Chuan did not hesitate, and swung his sword to counterattack. The swords collided with each other, making a harsh metallic sound. Clang! Exclamation mark. Suddenly, the long sword in Yu Xianshu's hand broke into 2 pieces, and the broken sword flew out, and landed on the open space beside. And the broken sword in Yu Xianshu's hand was only a small half left, and he was completely unable to continue fighting. He looked at the broken sword in his hand, and his face suddenly showed shock, and his whole body trembled. Aren't you going to teach me a lesson? Lu Chuan swung out the soul-breaking sword again, and slashed at Yu Xianshu. Yu Xianshu turned around and fled, shouting at the crowd, everyone, come together. Whoever can kill this bastard will be promoted to a higher position and enjoy wealth and glory. He shouted angrily. Then, everyone rushed towards Lu Chuan, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Seeing this, Lu Chuan laughed out loud. Aren't you going to teach me a lesson in a duel? Why are you scared? Without saying a word, Lu Chuan raised his left hand, and condensed the sun god fire again. After covering the sword with flames, Lu Chuan rushed into the crowd, and began to swing wildly. Facing this group of soldiers, Lu Chuan did not need any additional skills at all. He only needed to swing violently. Relying on the strength and sharp sword body, he could cut off everything and remain invincible. Lu Chuan rushed into the crowd, and slashed down many times in a row, killing 2 or 3 people with each swing. Soon, the excited belligerent roars in the crowd turned into miserable and shrill screams. The change was so fast that it took less than 5 seconds. Lu Chuan swung his sword several times in a row, and blood flowed everywhere, and limbs were cut off everywhere. Even the air was filled with the stench of blood. Lu Chuan's right hand, which was holding the hilt of the sword, was covered with sticky blood. Under the scorching flames, it quickly turned into blood scabs, and covered the entire hand. After screams came one after another, the group of people began to turn around and flee like crazy. Even their captain, at this moment, completely lost his arrogance just now, and fled in panic with the soldiers, not even daring to look back. Lu Chuan rushed down the mountain without saying a word, and rushed towards the crowd. Swish! Lu Chuan's speed was extremely fast. Almost instantly, he used the martial arts extreme shadow flash to close the distance. After a few more sword strikes, this group of people died or were injured. The whole team was defeated, and there were few survivors left. After they scattered and fled, it was still quite difficult for Lu Chuan to kill them all. After all, the surrounding terrain was complex, the light was dim, and the distance was a little far, so he could only identify the position by sound. Therefore, under such circumstances, Lu Chuan's pursuit seemed particularly tired. Soon, Lu Chuan stopped, and he looked around, and could no longer see any trace of anyone. He knew in his heart that he had not killed all the people, and if he chased them out again, he was afraid that he would not be able to find any results. He turned around, and walked forward along the bloody road. The flowing blood mixed with the soft soil on the ground, making Lu Chuan feel a little sticky when walking on the road. Lu Chuan came to the side of the convoy, and the 5 carriages were still parked here, without moving. Lu Chuan walked towards the carriage in the middle. When he approached the carriage, Lu Chuan could hear the rustling footsteps coming from the carriage. The people inside seemed to have woken up. They were probably afraid of the situation outside, and were all huddled in the corner. When Lu Chuan was about to open the door, suddenly, an arm was placed on his shoulder. Lu Chuan was suddenly frightened, and turned around to stab out with a sword. Mr. Lu, it's me. After hearing the familiar voice, Lu Chuan stopped his action, and put away the soul-breaking sword. Why are you here at this time? In front of Lu Chuan, it was Li Zunying who was standing here. Mr. Lu, I followed the convoy all the way here. Halfway through, I found that you were following behind. In order not to alert the enemy, I didn't say hello to you. Mr. Lu, don't worry. I killed all the soldiers who just escaped. No one was left alive. Lu Chuan patted Li Zunying on the shoulder and said, you did a good job. Very good. You helped me a lot. Then, Lu Chuan turned and looked at the carriage. The door of this carriage is still closed. What's inside? Li Zunying asked curiously. The prisoners are innocent people, and they are also the victims of Wan Changdong's quest for a breakthrough. Then do you plan to release them? Let them go. After they return to the city, they will be more strictly protected and will not repeat the same mistakes. Lu Chuan swung his sword and cut off the iron lock on the door. Then he opened the wooden door of the carriage. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 772 City Lord Invitation. After kicking the wooden door open, Lu Chuan saw the group of people huddled in the carriage. They were of different ages, but basically no more than 18 years old. Some were very young, huddled in the corner, shivering. These people all had scars on their bodies, and it was obvious that they were beaten when they were caught. Lu Chuan put on a veil to cover his face. Don't be afraid. From now on, you are free. Go back to Lincheng and your parents. They must be worried. After Lu Chuan finished speaking, the people in the carriage seemed to calm down a lot, no longer as timid as before. Seeing this, Lu Chuan continued to ask, do you know who arrested you? Several older children shook their heads slightly, indicating that they didn't know. Lu Chuan thought again and said, the person who took you away is the mayor of Lincheng, that is, Wan Changdong. You are talking nonsense. It can't be him. One of the oldest stood up and said very confidently, the mayor of the city is very nice. He often gives us delicious food. It is impossible that he kidnapped us. He said very seriously. Lu Chuan then continued to ask, are you so sure? I just rescued you. You don't believe me? Of course I don't believe it. The mayor of Wancheng is so nice. How could he attack us? He said very seriously. Lu Chuan patted the door frame and said, all get off the carriage, go and see who the people who transported the carriage are. Then, these people got off the carriage one after another. There were corpses everywhere around, which made them terrified, and some of them who could not bear it vomited directly. Lu Chuan continued to look at the troublemaker and asked, what else do you have to say? These people are all dressed as city guards. You can recognize them, right? The man was stunned and didn't know what to say for a while. Actually, they are really the city lord's men. This is impossible. He held his head with both hands, shook his head in disbelief, and kept backing away. Mr. Lu, why bother telling them this? They don't understand. Lu Chuan looked at Li Zunying. If these people can tell the truth, after returning to the city, maybe more people will be on guard. Also, don't call me by my name. Li Zunying nodded slightly. He knew that Lu Chuan didn't want to tell Wan Changdong the truth. If Wan Changdong knew that it was Lu Chuan who hijacked the carriage, then he would have a legitimate reason to target Lu Chuan in various ways. Lu Chuan continued to look at everyone. Now, go back and don't stay here. It's getting dark, and it's not safe to stay in the wild. Everyone looked at Lu Chuan, and many people came over and bowed deeply to Lu Chuan. Only some people turned around and fled directly, not daring to stay here for too long. At this time, Lu Chuan continued to ask, is there anyone named Zhu Yingchen among you? A dirty little hand was raised, and then she walked out of the crowd and stood in front of Lu Chuan. My name is Zhu Yingchen. Lu Chuan looked at her. She was less than 10 years old, looked young and timid. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Go back. Your father has been looking for you for a long time and just wants to see you as soon as possible. Thank you for saving me. I will definitely remember you. She knelt down directly in front of Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan turned and looked at Li Zunying. Let's go. Go back. In front of the carriage, Lu Chuan swung his sword to cut the rope and separated the horse from the front of the carriage. Then, Lu Chuan rode on the horse and returned the same way. After a while, Lu Chuan rode to the city gate. After riding into the city, Lu Chuan continued to move in the direction of Danfang Mansion. When he arrived in front of Danfang Mansion, it was completely dark. In a prosperous city like Lincheng, even at night, there are many lanterns lighting the streets, and there are still many pedestrians on the streets. Lu Chuan entered the Danfang Mansion and returned to the courtyard. In the courtyard, Lu Chuan saw Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang sitting here, eating dinner. Seeing Lu Chuan coming, Gu Xiaorao stood up and walked towards Lu Chuan. "What did you do today?" "I saved a group of people. I don't know what Wan Changdan will do with these people, but at least one thing is certain, this is for him to break through to the martial saint realm. What I did today not only saved people, but also prevented Wan Changdan from breaking through the realm." "That's great. We have bought a lot of time," Gu Xiaorao said with a smile. "That's right. Let's have dinner first." Lu Chuan walked towards the stone table, and when he was about to sit down, he saw Dan Fangcheng's figure walking in quickly and speeding towards Lu Chuan. "Mr. Lu, something's going on." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "I know, those missing people are back, right?" "No, the city lord wants to treat you to a meal." Lu Chuan looked up at Dan Fangcheng. "Treating me to a meal?" It seems that the people who were rescued have not yet arrived in the city. However, the city lord must have known the news, otherwise he would not have been so idle as to invite me to dinner. I think it's more dangerous than good. Dan Fangcheng sat next to Lu Chuan, looking nervous. Lu Chuan shrugged disapprovingly. "He doesn't dare to attack me now. He is only at the peak of the martial emperor realm. Even if he is only one step away from the martial saint realm, that is a huge gap. If he dares to attack, I will kill him immediately, but the process of escaping from the inner city will be more difficult. So, you can rest assured that, if I accept the invitation, there will be no danger," Lu Chuan said calmly. Dan Fangcheng continued to ask, "Or, I can find an excuse to get away with it. There is no need to meet him. He should also know that you robbed the convoy, so he came to you. I'm afraid he will be angry and play some dirty tricks." Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. "No need, just go. He can't do anything to me. Even if he plays dirty tricks on me, I have a high tolerance rate." With the Nine Heavens mysterious fire, Lu Chuan had enough confidence. With the Nine Heavens mysterious fire alone, Lu Chuan is not afraid of any poison. If any poison enters his body, Lu Chuan can use the Nine Heavens mysterious fire to dissolve it. If he is injured by other hidden weapons, Lu Chuan can also use the Nine Heavens mysterious fire to repair and heal him one by one. Therefore, no matter which aspect, Lu Chuan is not inferior to Wan Changdan. If he really wants to make him a threat to himself, at least he has to wait until he breaks through to the martial saint realm. Lu Chuan stood up, tidied his clothes, and prepared to go out. "Are you really going to accept the invitation?" Dan Fangcheng asked seriously. "Of course, since he wants to see me, then I will go to see him. I want to see what he wants to say to me." "Okay, then I'll go with you," Dan Fangcheng said seriously. Lu Chuan nodded slightly, and then the two left here. Chapter 773 Desire. At night, Lu Chuan and Dan Fangcheng rode their horses towards the inner city. Due to the recent frequent disappearances, the streets were very deserted. For safety reasons, most people chose to stay at home and no longer dared to go out at night. Lu Chuan rode his horse on the wide road and soon arrived at the inner city. Lu Chuan arrived at the city gate, tied the horse aside, and then walked towards the gate. The guard stopped Lu Chuan and asked, "Are you Lu Chuan?" "Yes, I am. I'm invited to visit City Lord 1. Please come in." Then, the gate opened, and Lu Chuan slowly walked in. The two walked towards the city lord's mansion. At the door of the city lord's mansion, stood a middle-aged man in a green robe, pacing back and forth, seeming a little anxious. After Lu Chuan walked over, he hurried to meet him. "You are Mr. Lu Chuan, right?" Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "Yes, it's me. I'm the housekeeper of the city lord's mansion. I have been waiting for you here for a long time. Please come in with me." When Dan Fangcheng was about to follow in, he was stopped by the housekeeper. "Stand here. You are not qualified to enter. The lord of the city has only invited Lu Chuan." "Why? Why can't I go in?" Dan Fangcheng asked reluctantly. "It is the lord of the city's order. You are not qualified to ask why. You just stay here and cannot go in. The housekeeper scolded in a stern tone. Dan Fangcheng looked at Lu Chuan with some grievance, as if asking for help from Lu Chuan. Forget it, you stay here for a while. I'll go in and see the situation and come out later. Okay, I'll wait for you here. Dan Fangcheng nodded helplessly and watched Lu Chuan enter the city lord's mansion. After the housekeeper entered the city lord's mansion, Lu Chuan was taken all the way to the reception room. In the dim reception room, only a few candles were still providing weak light. The housekeeper stood in front of the door, knocked on the door, and asked softly, "Lord City Lord, the person has been brought here. Can we go in?" Ahem. Come in." The housekeeper turned around and looked at Lu Chuan. "Please come in, Mr. Lu." Lu Chuan immediately opened the door and walked in. In the dark environment, under the candlelight, Lu Chuan could see the hazy figure of the city lord Wan Changdang. He leaned forward. From the darkness to the light, Lu Chuan was able to see his appearance clearly. At this moment, there was no anger or hatred on his face, just a gentle smile. He looked at Lu Chuan and smiled faintly. "Mr. Lu, your strength is really strong. Heroes appreciate heroes. I'm optimistic about you." Lu Chuan pulled her chair aside and sat down, then looked at Wan Changdang. "You invited me to dinner. What do you want to talk about?" "Nothing. I just want to chat with you casually like a friend." Lu Chuan chuckled. "Just chatting casually? I don't think it's that simple. Mr. Lu, I don't know much about you, but I know that you have a very strong goal, that is to attack the Lu family and get revenge. Right?" Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "Yes. What else do you want to say? Could it be that you can help me achieve this goal?" "Of course not." He clapped his hands and asked the butler to bring the food. After the dishes of extremely fragrant food were brought up, the servants left one after another. There were only 2 people left in the reception room again, and Wan Changdang looked at Lu Chuan very seriously. "Mr. Lu, the power of the entire Lu mansion is too great. You are not their opponent, and neither am I. Even if we join forces, we cannot defeat them." Lu Chuan sneered. "That's it? What else do you want to say?" "Mr. Lu, I have already talked to the Lu family. They can write off everything you did in the past, and even completely wipe out the grudge between you. Your previous grudges have been written off," he said with a smile, as if, in his opinion, these words were a huge surprise to Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan still had a calm expression and asked, "Then what? What's the price?" Wan Changdang continued, "I admire you very much. You are a strong man, and I'm also a strong man. The strong should join forces with the strong. The condition is that, as long as you join my city guard, I will appoint you as the city defense general. In Lincheng, you will be second only to one person, and above 10,000 people. I can even listen to some of your orders. Leave the Danfang family, and join my city guard. From now on, the people of the Lu family will no longer provoke you. We will develop together in Lincheng, and have a bright future. If you are stubborn now, if the Lu mansion sends the main force of the family to you, you will probably not be able to withstand it at all." Hearing this, Lu Chuan shook his head and smiled. "I see. No wonder you treat me so well. It turns out you want to win me over. I, Wan Changdang, am a proud person. Generally speaking, I will not lower my face to beg others to join. These people under me are begging me to join the city guard. If I didn't admire you, how could I treat you so well?" Then, Wan Changdang stood up and took out a map from the cabinet next to him. Swish. He spread the map on the empty space on the table. He waved his hand. "Look, this huge Lincheng and the surrounding territories will be yours in the future. Here, you can do whatever you want. You are treated like an emperor here. The daughters of some families, the beautiful ladies of some families, the gold stored in the whole city, the various treasures in the pawn shops, the cultivation resources of the mountains and rivers outside, everything is yours." He seemed very excited to say that all this was too tempting for ordinary people. For Wan Changdang, everything now is not as good as the martial saint realm he is about to break through. Therefore, in order to clear all obstacles on the road to breaking through the martial saint realm, he must first clear Lu Chuan. After all, Lu Chuan is now a strong martial saint, which is definitely his biggest obstacle at present. After hearing his words, Lu Chuan sighed helplessly. Lu Chuan will never give up the goal of avenging his father. Even glory, wealth, and endless wealth and women are not worth this goal. Lu Chuan clenched his fists and looked at Wan Changdang. Lord Wan, you've taken a lot of trouble, but my goal will not change. I will not give up until the Lu family is dead. If you stand on the side of the Lu family, then you are my enemy. Wan Changdang bit his lower lip, turned around and held his head with his hands. He was very angry. Mr. Lu, as long as you promise not to obstruct me anymore, how about you become the Lord of Lincheng? He turned around and looked at Lu Chuan with gritted teeth. I want to be the Lord? Are you dreaming? I'm serious. As long as you can help me break through the martial saint realm, what does it matter if the Lord lets you do it? Chapter 774. Obsessed. Wan Changdang's words made Lu Chuan stunned for a moment. This guy's too crazy. In order to break through to the martial saint realm, he is willing to give up his position as the city lord. You have to think about it. This is your life's hard work and the foundation you have fought for all your life. Are you going to give up this? Wan Changdang nodded seriously. As long as I can break through to the martial saint realm, everything else is empty. So what if the city lord gives it to you? As long as I break through to the martial saint realm, I can still become a hero, even if I start from scratch. The enthusiasm in his eyes is about to overflow, and the desire for power emanates from his whole body. Lu Chuan can smell it, even if he doesn't go. Lu Chuan shook his head helplessly. This guy's almost crazy. He is too obsessed with the pursuit of strength, and even looks a little crazy. This is almost like being possessed by a demon. Even if such a person breaks through to the martial saint realm, he will become a lunatic. This kind of mentality is not suitable for martial arts practice at all, and sooner or later he will go astray. Lu Chuan stood up, looked straight at him, and said calmly, Lord Wan, you said so much, just to make me stop and stop stopping you from breaking through to the martial saint realm. Then I want to know, what did I do to stop you from breaking through? Wan Changdang was stunned. After thinking for a long time, he said, you hijacked my convoy, didn't you? Those kids in the car, you want to use them to break through to the martial saint realm? I don't understand. Are you kidding me? How can they help you break through to the martial saint realm? They haven't even stepped into the martial arts practice themselves. He was stunned, not knowing how to answer for a moment. You don't know what to do specifically, right? Lu Baixun, the man told me that doing this can help me break through to the martial saint realm. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Is it possible that he lied to you? Impossible. Lu Wu broke through in this way, and he definitely contributed to it. Well, since you trust him so much, then we have nothing to say. What do you mean by this? You don't plan to stop. I'm only one step away from breaking through to the martial saint realm. Why won't you help me? You have already embarked on the path of cultivation and broken through to the strength of the martial saint realm. Are you going to cut off the way for future generations just because you take the lead? Lu Chuan couldn't help but laugh. Are you serious? I didn't break through the realm by relying on this method. City Lord 1, you'd better give up. You won't succeed. You've gone astray. If you go on like this, you'll go crazy. Wan Changdang slammed the table angrily and scolded. What do you know? You don't know anything. How dare you say such arrogant words that I won't succeed. I gave you such a good opportunity. If you don't cherish it, don't blame me. Lu Chuan looked at him and asked, why are you going to attack me? Wan Changdang was choked for a moment and had nothing to say. He certainly didn't dare to fight Lu Chuan now. Before he broke through to the martial saint realm, he would never fight Lu Chuan. He knew this, and Lu Chuan knew it too. I'll ask you one last time. If you agree, this Lincheng will be your world. If you don't agree, then we will have a big war sooner or later. This is not a good thing for both of us. Lu Chuan said disapprovingly. I don't agree. I'm not interested in Lincheng or anything. I'm only interested in revenge on the Lu family. Okay. One day, you will regret it. This is your last chance. I'm leaving. See you next time. Humph. See you next time. I'll be a martial saint realm. By then, you may not be my opponent. I, Wan Changdang, will lead the city guards to destroy everything in the Dangfang family. He shouted angrily, then clenched his fists and smashed the table angrily. Bang. Lu Chuan pushed the door open and walked out. Wan Changdang stared at Lu Chuan's back, his eyes gloomy and full of resentment. Lu Chuan came to the outside of Lu's house, and when he was at the door, he saw Dong Fangcheng pacing back and forth. "Mr. Lu, why are you so fast? What did you talk about?" Lu Chuan walked up to him and shrugged helplessly. "This guy is simply crazy. He actually wants to win me over and even give me the position of city lord." Dong Fangcheng was shocked. "Ah, is he so crazy? He even wants to give you his throne just to break through to the martial saint realm? But I can understand it. The temptation of the martial saint realm is indeed huge. By the way, you shouldn't have agreed, right?" Lu Chuan nodded. "Of course I can't agree. I don't trust him. He just said it verbally. I can't really believe it. When the time comes, he will join forces with the Lu mansion to destroy you all, and then turn around to target me. Wouldn't I be dead? Mr. Lu is indeed a smart man. Wan Changdong will definitely not give up his position as city lord easily." The two smiled and walked out of the inner city together. After the two left, in the reception room of the city lord's mansion, Wan Changdong lay on the table and kept pounding the wooden table with his fists. "Lu Chuan, Dong Fangcheng, you wait for me. You are dead. I will not forgive you." At this time, a figure walked in. "You are here. Sit down." Wan Changdong sat upright and looked at the other person seriously. "As long as you can do me this favor, I promise to let you go and only kill Lu Chuan." The man nodded slightly, and Wan Changdong's face reappeared with a smile. After Lu Chuan returned to Dongfang Mansion, he went back to his room and fell asleep directly. The next morning, after Lu Chuan got up, he went to the yard to have breakfast. The table was full of hot breakfast, a bowl of steamed rice, 3 plates of stir-fried vegetables and a pot of soup. The three of them sat at the stone table and finished their breakfast quickly. "Lu Chuan, what did you talk about when you went out to see the city lord last night?" Gu Xiaorao picked up a dish with chopsticks and asked. "The city lord wanted to win me over and asked me not to go against him anymore. He can think of it too. He has used this method. I'm afraid he has no tricks." Gu Xiaorao knew that Lu Chuan would not agree without asking more questions. Gu Xiaorao knew Lu Chuan's determination to take revenge best, so she could not doubt that Lu Chuan would give up halfway. After breakfast, Dong Fangcheng came to visit early in the morning. When Gu Xiaosang saw him, he sighed with annoyance. "Xiaosang, what do you mean? Don't you want to see me?" Dong Fangcheng asked with a smile. "I see you running here every day when I open my eyes. I'm tired of seeing you." Dong Fangcheng shrugged helplessly. "I don't want to either, but I have something to tell Mr. Lu. The group of people you rescued yesterday are back, and some news has spread. Many people in the city know that it was the city lord who did it, but no one dares to make it public. After all, Wan Changdong's rule here is still very strong. However, I'm afraid his credibility as the city lord will be greatly damaged." Chapter 775 New Action. Dong Fangcheng sat next to Lu Chuan, looked at Lu Chuan very seriously, and continued. "His plan has been obstructed this time. He will definitely think of other ways. During this period, I think we need to be extra careful and attentive." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "I know. Aren't your people watching outside? Tell me immediately if you have any news. By the way, is there any movement at the Lu mansion?" Lu Chuan asked. "There's not much movement over there. Compared to the city lord, they are much more low-key." Dong Fangcheng stood up and prepared to leave. "By the way, the guy named Tsundere, his daughter is back too. She came to thank us this morning. However, he doesn't know yet that it was you who rescued his daughter. This guy was so happy when he came this morning. Zhu Yingchen, right? I saw her, but I didn't let her see my face. When are you going to visit the Zhu family and let Tsundere face the reality?" Lu Chuan shook his head and smiled. "Forget it. Even if I go over and make things clear, can he help us fight the city lord? Obviously there is no possibility. Let's forget it. Okay then, I'll go busy myself first. I'll notify you as soon as I have any news." Dong Fangcheng left the yard. Gu Xiaorao put away her bowl and chopsticks, and when she stood up to leave, she asked, "Lu Chuan, what are your plans for today?" "Today, if there is nothing to do, just practice here and consolidate your foundation. After all, I just broke through not long ago, and I need to consolidate my strength." That's great. You've been busy every day recently, and I haven't seen you much. She picked up the bowl and chopsticks and returned to the kitchen. Then, Lu Chuan took out the branch of a sacred tree. Since you want to practice, you can't do without this. Gu Xiaosang's eyes lit up immediately, and he shouted quickly, "Great, I want to absorb it too." For Gu Xiaosang, this is a rare opportunity to practice. The majestic spiritual energy contained in the branches of the sacred tree is a source of spiritual energy that countless practitioners dream of. Pure and abundant spiritual energy is like endless wealth for practitioners. After Lu Chuan took out the branch of the sacred tree, he took out the spiritual branch. The combination of the two began to emit spiritual energy. This spiritual energy is much softer and endless, as if it can be absorbed infinitely. Seeing this, Gu Xiaosang immediately sat cross-legged on the chair. Under meditation, her meridians were slowly opened, and she began to absorb the surrounding spiritual energy. Soon, she felt refreshed all over. This spiritual energy continued to nourish her body, making her feel refreshed. At the same time, it also made her feel relaxed and full of strength, as if she had precise control over her limbs. Lu Chuan placed the branch of the sacred tree on the table and then sat down cross-legged. The moment he began to absorb the spiritual energy, for Gu Xiaosang, it was as if a black hole suddenly appeared beside him, absorbing all the spiritual energy around him. For a while, he had no spiritual energy to absorb. She opened her eyes and complained in dissatisfaction, "You buffalo, you can absorb so much." Lu Chuan curled his lips and smiled, "Your level is too poor. This is not my fault. Also, this is the branch of my sacred tree." Gu Xiaosang immediately closed his mouth and explained awkwardly, "I just said it casually, don't take it seriously." Gu Xiaorao came out, picked up the dishes and chopsticks of Lu Chuan and Gu Xiaosang, and sent them back to the kitchen. When she returned to the yard again, she saw the two sitting cross-legged, closing their eyes, and resting their minds, in a state of meditation. Gu Xiaorao also sat on the chair, and chose to start absorbing spiritual energy. Lu Chuan opened one eye, and looked at her, asking, "What realm are you in now?" "Third level of Wu Wang realm." Under the nourishment of the branches of the sacred tree, the speed of breakthrough is quite fast, but it is still a long way to go to Wu Huang realm. The difficulty of the first half of Wu Wang realm is completely different from that of the second half. From the 5th level onwards, every breakthrough must break through a bottleneck. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "If there are enough materials, you can directly use spiritual medicine to force a breakthrough. If not, go to Dong Fangcheng. He will provide materials." Gu Xiaorao smiled and nodded. "I know, but although the speed of realm breakthrough is guaranteed, it is still very weak in actual combat. If you want to rob the carriage again, can I go with you?" Gu Xiaorao opened her eyes and looked at Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan stopped practicing and looked at Gu Xiaorao. "It's not that I don't want you to follow me. I'm really afraid that you will get hurt. I'm afraid that Wan Changdong and Lu Beixuan are not ordinary people. If they try their best to attack you, accidents are likely to happen." Gu Xiaorao pursed her red lips, thought for a moment, and nodded helplessly. "Well, okay." Lu Chuan thought for a moment, and then said, "If not, when I destroy the Lu mansion in Lincheng, I will let you take over part of the power and develop it well here. The future is more dangerous. I'm afraid that taking you with me will easily cause accidents." Gu Xiaorao also knew in her heart that she was more of a burden to Lu Chuan and could not provide much help. If she developed a power belonging to Lu Chuan's camp in one side, it might be more helpful to Lu Chuan. "That's not bad. I think it's feasible." Gu Xiaorao nodded slightly and agreed to Lu Chuan's words. Gu Xiaosang heard the words, opened her eyes, and looked at the two, then closed her eyes and chose to default. Her idea was very simple, just to follow her sister and listen to her sister. If her sister wanted to stay here, she would naturally stay. A morning passed quickly. After the body absorbed enough spiritual energy, the whole person was full of energy, and the brain, muscles, bones, and organs seemed to be purified and improved. After Lu Chuan stood up, he was ready to have lunch. At this time, Dong Fangcheng walked over quickly, and when he saw Lu Chuan, he hurried to greet him. "Mr. Lu, there is a situation. My people sent a message back that another convoy is about to set off. Is this news accurate?" Of course it is accurate, and it is foolproof. Luchuan nodded slightly, but then he looked puzzled. The city lord just lost a convoy yesterday, and he immediately took action again today. Has he made preparations? No matter what preparations he makes, we have to act. Dan Fangcheng said. Of course we have to act. Luchuan walked to the door, and was about to go out, when he saw Dan Fanglian walking over. She looked around curiously, and only gradually walked over after seeing Luchuan. What are you doing here? I just felt the spiritual energy here is full, and I was curious about what caused it. I thought there was some treasure here. And with such abundant spiritual energy, I must seize the opportunity to practice. Don't worry about her. Let's go. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.